Have you thought of breaking through? Ain't it part of what you do? Catch a victim while he's dumb, break his larynx with your thumb. Time, and it's time to get high. Well, this ain't no goddamn dream. It's exactly what it seems. Wake up today just to lay back down and say, I won't be coming back. Let's call it a heart attack. Give me some of that knack. This is just a final payback. They all flipped on me, took my passions, left me be. When I had a place to sit, a goddamn attitude to fit. Talk real smooth, knew where to spit. But things have changed and I've quit. Got nothing to look forward to but a backlash full of lies. You're too late for where you're going. This is fate, the whistle's blowing. It's much too late. It's all too late. You're much too late. Like a piss hole punk with his nose turned up and a fragrance all your own. Tell me what it's like to be alone. And it's not for
And welcome back to another special edition of the Michael Deacon program. I look forward to once again serve you those sounds of salvation. First time listeners turn on, tune in, and drop out. This is a very different kind of show, a place where we don't feel so alone. Let us chase away the light no matter what you at home choose to believe. I do admire you for your curiosity, live and direct right now on YouTube. And yes, it's so nice to see all of you in the chat room. Do keep in mind, if you listen back to this or want to listen back to this, you can find this on all popular streaming platforms. I hope you enjoy your stay here. And of course, my goodness, we are joined by Dr. Paul Cottrell. He makes his return to give us yet another vital update on the coronavirus. And of course, after the break, Mr. David Dees is also here. Now, before we get to the guest, I am joined by Mr. Paul Mamakos. Let's bring him in, as he has drawn assignment yet again for this evening. Hey, Paul, what's going on?
I'm with you.
You're good.
Yeah, everything's great.
Yeah, you sound good now. Very good now. My goodness, I'm glad we were able to get through all the technical difficulties there. I apologize. My God, Paul.
Yeah, well, we went through it.
Hell yes, and I'm glad you're here. So, Paul, my goodness, we have lots to discuss here with another Paul, the doctor, Mr. Paul Cottrell. Let's bring him in now. Doctor, are you out there? Doc, can you hear me? Oh no, did we have him muted there? Doc, what's going on?
I'm here.
Perfect.
Hi.
Yeah,
how you doing?
I'm fantastic. I can't complain. I want to welcome you back to the program yet again. And my goodness, there's lots to talk about. I thought this was a pretty important subject to get right back into with you, Paul.
Yes, it's starting to ramp up, especially in the United States and across the world, especially in Iran and South Korea, Japan. It's not just a China issue; it's a worldwide issue.
Oh yes, it's a pretty severe issue, and there's so much to say. And of course, Paul, I'm referring to Paul Mamakos this time, just to not confuse either one of you. Paul, please refer to him as Doctor or the Doc.
Got it. Will do.
Fantastic. Just had to clarify that. So, once again, welcome back to the program. There's a lot to get into here tonight. Before we do, Paul, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Oh, me? Okay. Yeah, I'm good with out of body stuff and meditation and natural healing. So I've done that for about over 20 years.
Fantastic. Now, Doctor, can you tell the audience a little bit about yourself before we jump right in?
Yes. I have a PhD in finance, and I've been finishing up my pre-med and my master's in biology before going to medical school. My master's in biology is at Harvard, and my pre-med work was at Fordham University in New York. And I've been publishing daily, multiple on multiple topics on the coronavirus since January 25th on, different parts of this virus, the political part of it, our sovereignty, our biological civil liberties, the biology of the virus, some treatments, what's going on in the clinical trials, that type of stuff.
Fantastic. And Doctor, I've been going through your YouTube videos constantly and seeing you hard at work. I'm curious, Doc, have you been getting any sleep?
No, my average sleep is about 3 hours a day.
My God.
Unfortunately, but like I've said on other channels and even on my channel, when there is an emergency like this, you find a will to just keep on, persevering, and you find the strength somehow, some way. And also a lot of people's prayers and a lot of people's emails of goodwill helps a lot.
Yeah, what's that like for you, Paul? Hearing all these people pour out for you, telling them that, or they're telling you that they love you and they admire your work, and these people really do admire you, Paul.
Yeah, I have a lot of people that send me well wishes, either phone calls, text messages, or emails, or just in the comment section. Of course, you're going to have the trolls out there, especially when you expose things that they don't want to hear. A lot of people have cognitive dissonance, but I have in the thousands well wishers and people telling me that they're praying for what we're trying to do on the channel. It's not just me. It's a team effort.
That's a lot of people.
I call it the little army. I call it my little army. But it's a team effort, and there's just around the world. I mean, I have people that are watching the channel that are in Asia that's giving me inside information, in Europe and in the United States. So it's actually a world self-organized little team of people trying to get the word out.
Absolutely. And going back to some of those people that are watching you, those phone calls have been something else as well.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. There was one that just was released today. It happened in Texas, and this individual was taking the advice of the channel that we published a couple days ago to reach your local health department, trying to, get a better understanding of what the outbreak procedures are, to share information, because our thoughts are that if we work at the local level, at the community level, that we'll be able to quell the outbreak instead of assume a top-down government. So we wanted to have a grassroots movement working with the sheriffs, the police officers, the healthcare providers, the first responders. Because if the first responders get sick, the whole system will start to come down, because there's not enough doctors and nurses as it is. So this individual called in, and he was getting the runaround. And we show in stages, part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4, exactly how he was progressing through the system at the local level. And then he gets a call from the police saying that he was harassing the ER or the health department, which obviously, if you listen to the calls, he wasn't. So, so this is another data point that happens to be in Texas, where the government isn't being transparent. And then when you are a citizen exercising your citizen rights and trying to actually, work in the community to try to help, what happens is they clamp down, and you have harassment by the police, which I thought was very unprofessional.
Yeah, speaking of which, there's actually a phone call that you made to the governor, by the way. I thought that was actually really, really telling.
Yeah, first I reached out about 4 days ago to Chuck Schumer. He's my senator because I'm in New York.
Right.
So he's the senator of the state of New York, and I called his Manhattan office. Just got a voicemail. Then I made 2 other calls to the Buffalo office about a day later or so, and again, just answering machine, asking, hey, please inform the public about what's going on in Buffalo. We have some insider information of a whistleblower, of a healthcare worker at a hospital, at one of the hospitals in Buffalo, that is saying that the CDC confirmed 6 cases. It's not in the Johns Hopkins database, so it's not popping up as confirmed. So according to this whistleblower, they're hiding it. And this goes all the way back to mid-January. So all the testing for COVID-19 was done at the CDC, not at the local level, because kits were going to be issued out, but they found out that there were problems with the kits. So only 3 states out of the whole country have the capability of testing on site. So the rest of the tests, the kits will be probably available in a week and a half from now. So the numbers that we see in the Johns Hopkins database is a little suspect when it comes to the United States. Right now, they're confirming 35 cases, but we think it's a lot higher, especially 6 in Buffalo, New York. So I tried to reach out to the governor's office, and I got the runaround, and I kind of snaked through the phone tag, and eventually was able to get to the Department of Health, and someone took my information. I said that this was extremely important, and no callback. No, I mean, and nothing. And then there's still nothing from Schumer, nothing from Cuomo's office, nothing from the health department at the state level in New York. And then the callers were somewhat, the viewers on my channel were somewhat emboldened, and they started to call their local municipalities and health departments. And, we've been trying to record and release as much as I can. I mean, there's stuff that I'm getting that they don't want released. So I have, I'm trickling it out, because of the sensitivity of some of the stuff that's recorded. But
absolutely, yeah.
But I'm trying to show a picture to the American public and the world at large that the CDC and the local officials are not being transparent to this major crisis. And everyone we don't want a circus. We're not trying we're not trying to cause panic, but we do believe, and I think rightfully so, that if the government isn't transparent, then we have to assume the government is hiding something. And the question is, what are they hiding, and why are they hiding it? So it's our right as citizens to be asking these officials, what's the plan? How can we help? And, how can we prepare for a major outbreak in the United States? So we've been trying to record that. Not only are we looking at the science aspect, but we've been really concerned about what's going on at the ground of not getting any answers, the citizenry not getting any answers. And it's, obviously on that part 4 with coronavirus in Texas, with caller part 4, which is the video. That's the call where the police officer was harassing the citizen that was looking for that information and trying to convey information. Because the main reason why he called was they are quarantining for 14 days. They're not quarantining for 24 days.
By the way, Doc, is that the phone call with the woman who sounded very agitated? She had like some attitude.
Part 4 is the one with the police officer.
Oh, okay. Well,
the agitated one might have been part 2.
Oh, okay. I heard one where the lady sounds really angry.
I think that's part 2. I think that's part 2, and I think she's the one that actually called the police.
Oh,
saying the guy was harassing.
Yeah, he was that. Yeah, that's the phone call. Yeah,
but the thing is he was just doing his civic duty.
I agree.
And and we had a long conversation. Part of it was recorded, and I put that up, with his permission, which is part 5. I just was encouraging him, not to think that he did anything wrong. He did his civic duty. And also to encourage others to do the same thing, because they want us to stay asleep. They don't want us to call them.
Yeah, it seems that way.
Yeah.
And I do have audio of that, by the way, of the phone call you did to the Governor Cuomo. So we'll run.
You want to play it? Yeah.
Yeah, we can play that now if you'd like. I'm not sure if you're going to be able to hear it or not.
Okay, go ahead, play it.
But I will play that though. Let's run the audio. Yeah, there we go. Now it's playing.
You have reached the office of Governor Andrew M. Cuomo. Our normal business hours are 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. To contact the governor directly, you may send a fax to 518-474-1513. Or send mail to the Honorable Andrew M. Cuomo, New York State Executive Chamber, State Capitol, Albany, New York, 12224. You may also contact him through his website at www.governor.ny.gov. To best address your call, please choose from the following options. To leave a message sharing your ideas and opinions to help shape New York's future, please press 1. Speak to an agent, please press 2. Please hold while we transfer your call to the next available agent.
It's a long time.
Yeah.
My God.
Yeah, I'll tell you,
Yeah, they really.
It's a problem getting to your representative.
They really want you to get off. Man, look at that. Put you on hold that long.
If you would like to leave a voicemail, please select 1. Otherwise, please remain on the line for the next available agent. Executive Chamber.
Hello, this is Dr. Paul Cottrell. I called yesterday to get information about the alleged outbreak in Buffalo, New York, regarding the COVID-19 positive cases from the CDC. I have information from a whistleblower who works at the hospital, and I want a statement from the governor on this particular situation, because I have been getting the runaround from the CDC, and I don't think that the governor either knows about the situation or is addressing the situation to the citizens of New York. I live in Manhattan, so I'm a resident of New York State.
Hold on just a moment.
There's just so much bureaucracy in this, and I just can never get anybody. That's the sad thing about this.
That's true. This is the worst customer service I've ever heard.
Well, not only that, at the end, they tell me that I have to, fill a bunch of papers. So I sent them the statement, the written statement.
Right.
Never received a reply.
Yikes!
But it's entry at the end. At the end, she's so adamant about me writing something to the governor, and I did do that. And there's no reach out at all from the governor or Chuck Schumer. But they'll find ways. Mm-hmm. They'll spend so much time, wasting precious time and not focusing on their state problems, but try to pull down the president. I mean, it's like it was the same thing that we said on the last show. Nancy Pelosi was watching.
Hello, this is Dr. Paul Cottrell.
Hi. Yes. So you're going to need to submit something in writing about this.
Why do I have to submit something in writing?
Because unfortunately, if it's not in writing, there's nothing that the governor's office can do.
What, I don't understand that. I mean, isn't there? I mean, I can submit something in writing, but the question is, if you have a phone system, why? I mean, I don't get that. I don't understand
And
that.
over the phone, I can only pass on a brief message by your zip code, and so this needs to go to the governor's
What do you mean?
office and read it.
What do you mean a brief message? I mean, saying that
I can
there's
only
COVID.
pass on a brief
I mean,
message by your zip code.
yeah, but the thing is that there's COVID-19 positive cases in Buffalo, New York, at Millard Fillmore Hospital, and this goes all the way back to mid-January. So that's a brief enough message to get to the governor.
Okay.
I mean, here's the problem with bureaucracy, is that you have a citizen that's trying to reach to the governor about a serious situation that could harm lives. We're talking about saving lives here, and you're telling me I got to write something, and you can't work up the chain of command through the mail, through this phone system. I cannot believe that I can't talk to someone that has the ear of the governor to get an idea of what is going on in the state of New York in regards to the COVID-19 cases, either confirmed or unconfirmed. As a citizen, I should be able to reach someone on the phone to give me an update of what's going on. Because if I can't get someone on the phone, then it sounds like there is incompetence going on at the governor's office. And I'm not trying to be facetious. I'm just trying to understand what is going on, because there's an awful lot of citizens in New York that are concerned. And there are whistleblowers in the hospitals across the nation and at the insurance companies that are saying that there are upper respiratory situations taking place that are far greater than the normal situations during normal flu season over the past years. That's a sign that there's something wrong. And I'm trying to alert to the powers that be in our government that there's something wrong here. So I don't believe that the governor is paying attention to the situation, and I want his office to investigate this and to communicate it to the public on what's going on. I haven't seen Governor Cuomo in the news talking about this at all, about confirmed or unconfirmed cases anywhere in the state of New York. We had a couple tests, maybe 2 or 3 tests in New York City. We have a quarantine that's going on in Westchester County. Where's the governor? Where is he in the news? So why don't you if you can't answer it, put me to someone that can answer it.
Sir, this is an issue you need to write in about to the governor.
I don't understand why that is. What position do you have?
Right there, she tried checking you pretty hard there, Doc.
Right. I was just trying to be as cordial of a citizen as I could be, but I was getting a little frustrated with her.
I agree. You're only trying to help.
We're trying to help and get answers and get the government to be transparent, because I am working on the hypothesis that the government knows more than what is being published at the Johns Hopkins database that all of these epidemiologists are looking at, and all the researchers out there are looking at, and to track these numbers. And I'm not seeing transparency at the state or at the federal government level. And even Mesner, or Mesnier, I think is how you pronounce her name, at the CDC, they're only going to be doing call-ins, with more of the mainstream media every other day or every third day of the week for an update. And I'm like going, wait a minute here. This is a potential crisis that could shut down our economy and hurt a lot of lives. And she only is going to do every other day or every third day update. The CDC should, even if it's only a 5 or 10 minute brief, she should be updating every day.
I agree.
What's going on?
Yeah.
What's going on? State by state. Confirmed, unconfirmed, maybe even recovered, because there's some talk about a second wave, or someone may be sick and they may get it again. There's a second wave, and we're concerned on the scientific side. We're concerned of something called a cytokine storm, where it makes your immune system can't fight the second wave as well as the first wave. So we're concerned about that. So there's a lot of worries here, and I just think that the government is dropping the ball. But I'm not so sure if it's because of incompetence or if it's that they want the infection to take place, or maybe it's a little bit of both. I don't know, but it's worrisome.
Yeah, I agree. I was just about to ask you, why is the CDC acting this way, sir?
My gut feeling is that they don't want to panic the United States. They're doing the same mistake that they had in China. They didn't want to admit to it until it was too late, because they were betting that they could cap it, and control it, contain it, and not shake financial markets. That's what I think they're betting on. But I think the cat's out of the bag already. What I'm hearing on the ground, from the callers,
right,
from the emails, I'm getting a different picture, and that there's a lot more people going into quarantine that are not associated with anyone coming from that a Diamond Princess cruise liner. And we're starting to see the outbreaks on the ground, but the CDC is not showing it. We're not, and we don't even have the kits at the local level yet. Only 3 states have them. Can you just imagine? I think it's Nevada, Illinois, and Florida that have it. Could be wrong, but I think those are the 3 states. And maybe it's not Nevada, maybe it's actually California. But either way, once the other states get the kits, we're going to see the ballooning out of the COVID-19 positives. And people are going to start rushing to the store and, hoarding food and because everyone's planning late. Well, you and I talked 2 weeks ago about, preparation, but
that's right.
It's a bad situation. I don't think that the government's being transparent enough. They should have been transparent on the first U.S. case, not waiting until the 35th case.
Yes, and it's terrible being out here in Southern California. I'm only about an hour and 20 minutes away from San Diego, and there seems to be all sorts of positive people over there already.
Yeah, well, there is. There's you have like 4 or 5 seed centers now that could balloon out, with cases. I have been saying for 2 weeks now that I
over
believe
200,
that the
by
breakout, the outbreak will happen in California or Texas. That's where I think we would start seeing the the 10s, the 20s, the 30s, the 40s. Each day you're going to start seeing it grow.
Yeah, we're seeing that now.
These people have been walking around and they've been contracting it, and who knows if you're not testing. A lot of these cases, 5-6 of the cases are going to be mild, based on the data right now. 5-6 of the cases, for if you have 6 people, 5 of them are going to be mild, and it can easily fly under the radar as just a moderate flu. 1/6 of those cases are extremely deadly. So, there's a lot of people running around with the sniffles. They probably have Wuhan.
That's true.
Have the COVID-19, and they're just being passed under the radar as it's just the flu. Did they test for it? No. So how do you know? You don't know until you test for it, because the symptoms are the same. And especially in an outbreak area, that's been my point and my premise from day one. You always err on the side of caution, and the caution is assume that it is Wuhan. Don't assume that it's the flu. because the flu, most likely you'll be fine. With Wuhan, you got a 1/6 chance of dying from it.
Yeah, this is a very, very dangerous situation. And of course, as I've been talking to you, you fully believe that this is an act of bioterrorism. Is that true, Doc?
Well, I have, we know that this virus was bioengineered. The literature going all the way back to 2010, parts of it going all the way back to 2007, shows that it was used for research purposes. Because it's a very virulent engineered virus, it has to be in a protective facility that is a level 4 protection, which in China they call P4, and here we call it BSL4. But it's a level 4 facility, and it's very virulent. Now, you can take something that was bioengineered for science purposes and use it as a bioweapon. Now, the last time we talked, we said that we had a working hypothesis that it was leaked out of the P4 facility.
Right.
And that it was either leaked out on purpose or by accident. And we believe that the CIA, independent on if it was leaked by accident or purpose, is leveraging the situation to pull down the CCP. I don't believe that this was designed, that what was leaked out of the P4, there's no evidence to show that what was designed and leaked out of the P4 facility was a specific bioweapon virus. It didn't take, like, say, the scientific virus, it was supercharged, and then made it, into a bioweapon. There's no evidence of that leap. And how we know this, and then some individuals would say, well, China seems to have it a lot worse than the United States. Why? It must be, some of these researchers are saying, well, it must be the virus that is in China must be different than the virus that we have in the United States. No, they've done sequences of the patients in the United States, and they published it at the NIH. And of course, there's some mutations that take place with viruses when it's moving around the world and into different populations over time. But the homologies between the original Wuhan virus that was sequenced and the sequencing of the U.S. and other world sequences of confirmed cases, they are so similar that you can just say that they're the same. Okay, so there doesn't seem to be a 2-strand type theory where there was a weak strand and a more virulent strand that was leaked out. So I'm still with the working hypothesis that it was most likely accidentally leaked because of poor protocols, and the CCP, there's a takedown of the CCP by the CIA to make sure that they kind of reduce try to reduce their projection, their power projection against the U.S. Navy, with those island chains. We're not hearing in the news and how affected are the Chinese military with this. I mean, if large sections of their population are sick, most likely, a good percentage of the soldiers are sick too. So there is China's in a tenuous situation. So I don't believe it was designed as a bioweapon.
Right.
There's some people that do believe that. I believe it was used for scientific purposes, and it was accidentally leaked. But I think we're using the situation to our advantage, which I can't blame. To pull down the CCP.
Some people in the chat room definitely believe this is some sort of this was done purposely. They're saying it's Agenda 21. This is population control.
Yeah.
There's people saying that.
There is a lot of conspiracy theories out
Sure.
there. But I mean, let's say if this conspiracy theorists were around in 1918, would they have said that the Spanish flu was a conspiracy? The Spanish flu was actually an emerging property that led to massive deaths because of just a very virulent virus.
I'm glad you brought that up, by the way. Doc, that reminds me of influenza. You're right. World War I that killed, 20 million people, right? Worldwide.
Well, some people think maybe even more.
Or more.
50 million. But yeah. So, but I don't think anyone really knows the true number because there were so many deaths. But
right.
It was very bad, very, very bad. And there's some signs that this could be similar to the Spanish flu, even though it's a completely different virus. And this virus was definitely bioengineered. There's no doubt about that. What is interesting is Dr. Boyle was on the Oppenheimer Ranch. He started on the Oppenheimer Ranch. He did an interview with Diamond, and he was like saying, "Well, this was a bioweapon," and he comes from the perspective that we should close down the BSL-3 and BSL-4 facilities because they're only used for bioweapons. And there's a couple fallacies to the argument, and he carried it on CNN about 2 weeks later, and then he was interviewed on Alex Jones on InfoWars, promoting this idea.
Yeah.
And the statement that I wanted to reach your audience was that we got to be critical on some of the things that some people say. If someone is saying close down a BSL-3 or 4 lab, then how do you study really bad pathogens? You can't study them in your kitchen. You have to have facilities. So his premise that they're only used for bioweapons is wrong. Are they used for bioweapons? These facilities, do they make bioweapons? Yeah, like I said, you can make a steak knife for steak, but you can use it to kill someone.
That's right.
So closing down, with Dr. Boyle saying, close down all the BSL-3 and 4 facilities in the world. I think there's only 15 for level 4 in the actual whole world. I just think it's the wrong thing to do because you're going to stop basic research on very virulent pathogens.
Right.
So that's idiotic in my opinion. But there's the other issue that he brought up recently with CNN, and then I believe he had a 20-minute interview on CNN, and then shortly after that, he was interviewed by Alex Jones. And he's been promoting this idea that this was kind of like a DARPA weapon that was sold to the Chinese, and the Chinese kind of tweaked it, and then it was eventually leaked out of the P4 facility. I don't believe that.
That's narrative. A bit of a stretch.
Yeah, I don't believe that narrative because, one, I mean, why would the U.S. sell a bioweapon to an enemy?
Correct.
That doesn't make much sense. But not only that, there's so much research that's going all the way back to 2010 of this virus being used to study in the bat host, to understand. They supercharge it to understand why does it live in the bat host, so they can come up with pharmaceuticals or vaccine against it. So I question why he pops up all of a sudden saying that it was the U.S. selling it to the Chinese. To me, it sounds like a psyop. Like I was saying before on your channel, I believe we're pulling down the CCP, and Miles Guo on Stephen Bannon's show is probably trying to convince the American public that that the regime in China is really bad, and that we need a ban with the Chinese people and the Hong Kongese and pull down President Xi through this event, which I don't disagree with it, but I don't believe that the U.S. purposely infected the whole world to do this. I think that's insane. But there's another. So what's going on in Bannon's show is kind of like predictive, or we're trying to like a predictive programming, or convince the American public that there will be a overthrow of the CCP. It's like putting it in our minds, right? Dr. Boyle, there's something weird. It's like almost on the opposite side, trying to blame the U.S. Well, Bannon seems to be just promoting the fall of the fall of the CCP. So there's something weird going on with Dr. Boyle, and I haven't really put my finger on it. But some of the things that he's stating are just categorically, they're just wrong, or misguided, or not fully factual. That if you look at the details of it, there's nuggets of truth. But do I think that we should do bioweapons? No, I don't think we should do bioweapons. But we should be studying pathogens that are at level 4, so we have vaccines for them, or at least at the minimum, have some sort of therapeutic designed. If we don't study it, we won't have the medicines for it.
By the way,
So,
I think Paul wants to jump in here. Paul, go ahead. I'm sure you have a few things to say to the doc.
Yeah, sure. Is there any recommended treatment? And if someone had an excess amount of money, what could they do to protect themselves?
well, if you had a lot of money, you could buy a bunker and just live in it.
Well, besides,
and just come out
besides,
after everything's done, which I think a lot of rich people are doing. But when with our medical technology and where our medical departments are at this moment, they can treat the symptoms. All right, someone comes in, they're going to be treating for the pneumonia, the headaches, the diarrhea, or constipation. They both could happen. Any heart problems, any kidney dysfunction. So they're treating the symptoms. They can use protease inhibitors and some AIDS medication that will help slow down or block the production of the virus. They're protease inhibitors.
Yeah.
And and then hope that the body will produce its own antibodies to fight the virus. Buy the body some time. Here's the problem: if you're healthy, you have the immune system that can fight it, and this regimen of medication is probably good, and you'd be somewhat cured. I don't think you're ever cured, but I mean, you're healed, right? Ones that are sick, ones that have heart disease, some people have, cirrhosis of the liver, or have kidney, problems, or diabetic, or have, or obese. They all have high risks of heart failure if contracting this, because this virus is attaching to the ACE2 receptor, and that ACE2 helps with homeostasis, with especially blood pressure, but many other different processes in the body. So the ACE2 receptor is not just in the lung, but it's in the smooth muscles that are involuntary. So it helps with the contraction of your intestines. That's why, some people have problems they're removing the feces, because their muscle will not contract. The inflammation that's taking place in the bronchial tubes will give you something very similar to asthma, where it'll actually tighten the actual bronchial tube. So you have to have like vasodilators. Different organs also have, the kidneys, the liver.
By the way,
your actual blood vessels,
My God! By the way, going out with cirrhosis of the liver. By the way, that's a terrible way to go, Doc.
Yeah, definitely.
My God.
There's ACE receptors in the blood vessels, all right, your arteries and veins. So what can happen is you can actually have these microbleeds and have and bleed. That's more like the more severe cases. There is a clinical trial of remdesivir that's being done in China. It looks like it's moving along well. So within 3 months or so, they might be going to clinical trials too. So you're talking about like 6 to 8 months later, past clinical trial 3. Because first they want to figure out, will it kill anyone, and then they want to figure out dosage and toxicity, and then a larger population sample in clinical trial 3. So it takes time, but remdesivir seems to be working at this moment for a lot of the patients, maybe not all of them. The NIH is working with a couple of companies for a messenger RNA vaccine. Now, I'm concerned about the messenger RNA platform because it's relatively new, and we don't have long-term data on the quality of the vaccine and what happens 4, 5, 10 years later when you are taking a messenger RNA vaccine. Is there any negative downstream effects, like activating a tumor suppressor? If you inactivate a tumor suppressor, you get cancer. You can activate an oncogene and get cancer. So there's this fine balance of properly activating genes on and off. We just don't know because we haven't done the testing. So, but they are developing a vaccine that probably wouldn't be out for everybody until a year and a half from now. So the standard care is going to be maybe some generic type of AIDS medication and protease inhibitors. Maybe some corticosteroids, antibiotics, because when you get an infection, not only are you going to get the viral infection, but you're going to reach imbalance in certain areas of your body where you're going to have bacterial growth. So you're going to be fighting other pathogens, not just the virus. So especially in your lung, if you start getting sick, that we have natural flora in our body, right? But they have to be at a certain concentrational level and at certain percentages relative to other bacteria, right? But if you're sick, you get out of balance. So you're going to have to get a lot of antibiotics, get those protease inhibitors, and hopefully your body will build the antibodies. Now, there is some talk, and it's been done before, where the ones that have healed, they have created antibodies. You could take their blood, their plasma, and filter out those antibodies and put them into other individuals.
Yeah, I've heard you talk about this before, Paul, Doctor.
Yeah. So so that's another potential means of trying to abate the outbreak. But my concern is it doesn't take too many people, let's say 1,000, in a local area to overload the medical system where they can't treat because you got a highly contagious situation and a very high probability that the nurses and the doctors get sick. So people need to think of this in a wave. The first wave of patients probably will get really good care. The second wave will get a little less, and then over time the care will diminish to a point where you will only have homeopathic. And so it's important to look at your natural herbs and type suppliers, and look at items that are antiviral, antimicrobial, nanosilvers, birch bark type extracts, Relora.
Yeah,
for low skin.
I'm glad we're talking about this, Doc.
We've been looking into some antiviral type nutraceuticals to help people, just in case the medical system starts to break down. And they can buy them anywhere on Amazon or in your health food store. But this is what I'm doing.
Yeah, I wanted to know what you're taking, Doc.
Yeah. What I'm doing is liquor only if I'm sick. I'm not taking this every day. It's only if I'm starting to feel sick.
Okay.
I have licorice root extract, Relora, or forskolin, and birch bark extract. It has to be birch bark. It can't be the birch leaf. And calendula.
So that's 3. Is it 3 or 4 items?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
So licorice
root,
birch bark,
licorice root, relora,
mhm, Relure. Mhm.
relora, yeah,
Okay.
forskolloin,
Yeah, someone
birch
actually,
bark,
someone,
birch bark
I
extract.
was curious,
and,
by the way,
and
Doc, your take
yeah.
on something like colloidal silver.
I have colloidal silver when I have like a cold. There is a better technology out there. It's called nano silver, and the reason why is colloidal is a little bit toxic, and it's not as efficient. But the structural silver or the nano silver is a silver molecule with 4 oxygen, so it's a tetrahedral, and that oxygen around the silver is actually viewed as like a zapper. It kind of goes in and kind of can zap a virus or attach to a virus. But it can attach it 4 different ways. It's a tetrahedral. So the colloidal silver doesn't have as much power as the nano silver. But the thing is that some people take C60. If you take C60, which is like a buckyball, some people use it as an antioxidant or like a detoxer. I take C60. If I got sick, I'd stop taking C60, and 24 to 48 hours later, I would start taking the nano silver, because if you have C60, the C60 will actually attack the resident structure of the tetrahedral molecule in the nano silver product, and detox your body from it. So it won't help. It like neutralizes it. So you can't take C60 if you're sick, if you're taking nano. If you don't have nano, take the C60 because it's an antioxidant. It'll help reduce some of the cellular damage that happens when you're sick. But again, this is a backstop. If you're sick, you should go to your doctor, right? And
Right.
there's nothing wrong with what is here and supplementing it with what the doctor's giving you. It's synergistic.
Yes.
Unless you have a other complication where one of these products may counteract some of the drugs that you may be taking for, let's say, Alzheimer's or MS or some other disease. Your doctor would know that. So, but for the average person, just getting COVID-19, there's nothing really wrong with taking these products with that item, unless you have some other condition. But it's really important. If you're sick, go to the doctor and get the medicines that you can. But have this in stock just in case you can't get to the doctor, because your local clinic or hospital may be so swarmed with so many patients that they can't take anymore, and you have to do self-care.
That might happen.
So this is all you got if that happens.
So what's the total cost of that, do you think, for that little kit of 5 items?
Now, I'm working with another researcher in Europe
hold
for
on.
what we call the second wave.
Oh, by the way,
The second wave.
Doc, Paul was asking you a question. I don't think you heard him.
Yeah, sure. What's the total cost of those 5 items for like a month or 2?
Candula is like $15 per bottle. Birch bark's like $20. For forskolloin is $20. Laura is around 19, and licorice root is 40.
About $100, and you're good to go, huh?
Yeah.
Cool.
Very nice. Okay. I just wanted to quickly add, I take vitamin C pills and fish oil regularly.
Right.
Would you recommend anyone just doing that normally, just to boost their immune system?
So to unpack that, there's what you do if you're sick, and that's what I just said. If you're sick, this is what you should take.
Right.
especially if you can't get to a doctor. If you get to a doctor, he'll give you some stronger stuff. This will act as like a protease inhibitor.
Mm.
Okay. But his stuff that he'll give you will act much stronger because it's more targeted. But just overall health, what I'm doing, but extra vitamin C. I take zinc supplements. I take turmeric, multivitamins.
Turmeric.
Yeah, turmeric is the anti-inflammatory.
Right.
Multivitamins. I take. I always have filtered water. I never drink out of the tap. It's or bottled water. I always have filtered water. My own filtered water. I use zero water filters.
No bottled water, huh?
No bottled water. Because some of the bottled water will have fluoride in it, and sometimes they have another compound for taste, because it has to be stored. So I wouldn't drink bottled water at all, no matter what brand it is. So you're just better off just buying like a BPA-free water bottle, that can hold like 64 ounces, and just filter all your water. I use a zero water filtration system. It's like a 5 filtration system. The Alexa Pure, that's a little bit bigger.
Interesting.
If you're living in suburbia, since I'm living in Manhattan, everyththing's small, so I don't have room for Alexa Pure system.
You're limited there.
But they definitely filtered water. I use the iodine drops every day. That will keep your thyroid nice and healthy. That also helps with fighting pathogens. Then what else do I take?
You take a lot.
I take NMN. Yeah, you've seen my videos, right?
Yeah, of course.
How old do you think I am?
You look really.
How old do I look?
I was just gonna say, by the way, Doc, you look pretty goddamn young.
Well, how old do you think I was?
Well, the first time I saw you, I thought you were at least in your 30s.
I'm 47.
Yeah, and you're 47.
I'm 47, and I've been doing an antioxidant regime since I was 16 years old.
Yeah, you look really, really young, my friend.
Yeah, but I mean, that's because of the heart condition history, that in my family. So I've been very, very
gotta be
vigilant
careful,
on trying to, stay healthy. And the NMN is the anti-aging compound that came out of Harvard and MIT. So that
those
helps
actually
with mitochondrial health.
So that works.
As we grow old, our mitochondrial health starts to decline. We start to reduce, but you can boost that up through NMN. Like I take NMN, and I take regularly the K2, MK7.
I'm gonna have to start taking this.
That's more for the arteriosclerosis, to prevent that.
By the way, Paul, since
the arteriosclerosis is caused. The researchers are thinking the arteriosclerosis is caused not so much by lipids, but more by inflammation. So you can reduce the inflammation with the D3 and the K2 combination.
Paul,
but it has to be MK7. It has to be the MK7 molecule.
Doc, I'm really, really curious. As I get older, I've been thinking about taking HGH. Obviously, not for another good 10 years, obviously, but I'm thinking, would that actually be beneficial for me, or will that just sink me deeper in a hole?
Well, what's interesting about human growth hormones, when during Lance Armstrong's day, when they were doing the Tour de France, right? Mm-hmm. He caught using growth hormones to win the Tour de France.
That's right.
For performance enhanced purposes to heal. Well, human growth hormone should not be banned. It should be banned in sports, but it shouldn't be banned, because if it's used properly, you can reduce aging, and you can boost back up testosterone levels and proper estrogen levels and progesterone and all these hormonal levels that start to get out of whack when we get older.
Yeah, so that's fine to take. So, in other words.
Yeah, okay. But there's I think it's called what is it called? if you go to Dr. Group's website, it's Global Health Center. He has an I think it's called Androplex, and that's really good for naturally boosting up. It's all like just cold pressed herbs, naturally boosting up your hormonal levels and growth hormonal levels, and just testosterone levels, progesterones, and all these different precursors and stuff. So I recommend that as the hormonal therapy as we get older, instead of taking some of these synthetics.
Now, gang of four.
Growth hormones and synthetics, and usually I think the ones that you're probably referring to, you have to go to a doctor to get.
Yeah,
right?
you have
the
to.
Growth hormone injections.
You got to get an injection, yes, and those are very expensive.
Yeah.
Right.
I wouldn't do it that way. I would take the Androplex or whatever it's called on his website. That it's just under the tongue. 2 drops in the morning and not drops, but like full droppers.
Right. Okay.
2 under the tongue in the morning, and then 1 at night. People have to watch out though for guys, not so much for gals, but for guys when they're trying to boost up their normal hormonal levels. As we age, the guys that still have hair, if you use it too much, you could lose hair by boosting it.
Interesting.
By boosting up your testosterone hormone. Yeah. So you can, if you overuse it, you can have hair loss.
Well, here's the crazy part. I had a friend of mine who was only about 22 years old, and he was taking, I'm sure he was taking growth, and at one time he had to start taking estrogen.
Yeah.
To balance it out.
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah. He was like a bodybuilder?
No.
Was he a bodybuilder?
No, he was in a bodybuilder, but I mean, I'm not exactly sure why the hell he was taking it, to be honest with you, but I grappled with him in jiu-jitsu, and I realized, God damn, this guy's a lot stronger than I am. And he's not that much bigger than I am, but God damn, was he ever strong? And I always thought he must be on something, and it turns out he was. Right. But holy shit.
Yeah.
Pretty wild stuff.
So people don't realize cholesterol is the precursor to all these hormones. And when people are on like a cholesterol reducing type medication because of a heart issue, it's actually causing problems with their hormonal levels. It actually exacerbates the loss of hormones because they don't have the precursor to make them. They don't have the precursor to make the aldosterone, and they don't have the precursor to make the progesterone or the testosterone or the estrogen. So I just people need to kind of wake up. It's like some of these medications they give you to reduce something that they think will help your heart may actually affect something else downstream.
Yeah, and that's the problem. Especially for you, Doc.
That's why I'm saying that these cold pressed technologies that are coming out of global health healing by Dr. Group, that would help. That's my recommendation. It's a natural way of doing it. It's not toxic or anything like that. You don't have to go to a doctor and get these injections, and they work. A lot of people have said after about 4 or 5 days they get the better libido, they get the more energy, they don't have to sleep as much, their recovery time when they're working out is a lot better.
Right. Yeah, it's a miracle really for lots of people out there. And it's terrible that some people in sports were taking it at one time, and it was basically giving them a second chance in their career. It was almost reigniting a lot of these people's careers in baseball, I recall. But I mean, it goes through all sports, and it's terrible that it is a banned substance, and it should be used. I think personally, it should be an unbanned substance that everyone should be able to use to give an open playing field.
Here's the problem, especially the medical grade version. If it's overused, they'll give you cancer. But people don't realize it's you have to use it at the right time, the right amount, at the right frequency, and the right time within your age. because if you overuse it, there is, cancers need that human growth hormone.
Right.
So, so people have to be careful that they can get cancer, and that's what happened to Lance Armstrong. He started getting a brain tumor and testicular tumors because of the hormonal injections.
Yeah, there's a downside to everything. Life causes cancer. That's what I realized, Doctor.
Right.
It's terrible. And speaking of cancer and all of that, you also had a call from a first responder of 9/11, which is a subject that I did want to talk to you about, Doctor, since you are from the NYC area. And I was curious to ask you about 9/11 and your whereabouts during that morning of Tuesday morning, Super Tuesday.
Yeah. For me, I was actually, I was in South Korea.
Oh, you were in South Korea.
And I was at that time I was in South Korea, and I was working on an automotive project because I was born and raised in Michigan.
Right,
but,
right.
Early in my career was automotive. So I was doing an automotive project in South Korea, and I woke up, in the morning. So it's evening in New York. So the towers already fell. Tower 7 already fell, and they were trying to retrieve bodies. And they just kept on replaying the fall of the towers, and kept on replaying it on the news when I woke up. And I was able to so this is September 12th in Asia.
Right.
Then I was able to fly back to Detroit on September 16th. And the whole country was just totally different than what I remember leaving in, I think it was June or July. Just totally different. Everyone had American flags all over the place. The security at the airports were extreme. They checked our luggage 3 times by hand.
Wow.
Individuals looked at the luggage by hand.
By hand?
3 times. Yeah. So, but I remember that. And that was kind of like the slow progression to, do my master's in finance and go and work in corporate finance in New York and the financial trading, portfolio management side of things. And that I've been in New York for 11 years now. And I'm not too far away from the Freedom Tower. I mean, I'm in like 2-3 blocks away from it. So, it was nice is I've been able over the last 11 years to see the rebirth of Ground Zero, seeing, all these towers start to rise again, having the memorial waterfall. And, it's a very peaceful place. I walk the riverfront regularly, and I'm able to, walk along the East River around Battery Park and then up the Hudson and then cut across and then walk through Ground Zero. It's a very peaceful walk to see it now. But it took a long time. It took a long time to rebuild that area. But I always look at that area as a rebirth for America. There was a tragic thing that happened, but the American willpower, American spirit is to dust ourselves off and rise, from the ashes and continue building. And I think that area it represents that to its fullest.
I still remember right after the event, that feeling of unity sort of spread itself all throughout the nation here in America. And it seemed like a pretty nice little feeling that we all had a sort of camaraderie amongst each other. And that feeling just went away so fast, didn't it?
Yes, it did. Yes, it did. And not only that, I think, unfortunately, I think some of the government officials use that. They use that patriotism and use that unity to roll in certain acts, the Patriot Act, that erode our civil liberties. So it is kind of ironic.
It
that
is.
It was through patriotism that the Patriot Act to erode our civil liberties was able to come about. And I personally believe that this incident, this current incident, this coronavirus crisis, is going to roll in a what I call the Bio Patriot Act. And that Bio Patriot Act is this the forced vaccination program, curtailment of our biological civil liberties, and for the sake of national security. Just like we had to have a never-ending surveillance state and a ballooned out, homeland security apparatus to fight terror. And though we've already fought the terrorists, we won, but we don't have a pre-9/11 surveillance state in the United States. So there is, I'm concerned about that it's really important. Yes, there are times where we need to be super vigilant, which I think the Patriot Act in its original form was trying to set. But we have this scope creep of an erosion of our civil liberties. The Patriot Act and that all those apparatuses that were built around it should have had a sunset. And once we killed bad guys, we go back to a pre-9/11 day. But that's not what happened. And now we're seeing another form of it at the HHS, the Human and Health Services Department, at the CDC, at the state legislature levels. There are dormant bills that are being worked on that are on my website that people can go to and download. There's some files about New York state legislature, and there's some files about the HHS. And people can read those documents. It's all open to the public through the Federal Registry. But in those documents, it basically shows how they're going to curtail your freedoms during an outbreak. That the CDC can control you. It can completely shut you down. And you have no recourse, none whatsoever. And I think that's fundamentally against our constitutional freedoms.
Yeah, it's a shame.
People will work together. People will realize that if there is a pathogen, that's very contagious, that could hurt a lot of people, people are empathetic, and people will realize, okay, we got to hunker down, but the community is going to help us, and and the medical establishment will take care of us. That's what people want to do. All right, but what has been created lately is this fear. It seems like the government's against us, and they shouldn't be. So I'm worried, and I have this kind of very, very philosophical thing. What I'm going to say is really deep, so you got to really stick with me on that.
I'm listening.
All right, so 9/11, the towers fell. The two towers, the Freedom Towers, or
right.
the Twin Towers, they fell in about 102 minutes. Okay, so I call that the bookend. So this 20-year period of 9/11 to now, the other bookend is Event 201, and 201 is the mirror image of the bookend of the 102 minutes of the towers falling. The towers fell, and we were getting a surveillance state or a curtailment of our civil liberties. The other bookend, the mirror image, is Event 201, which is what we're seeing right now. That's my channel. This is a biological 9/11 in slow-mo. And people have cognitive dissonance, and they're not waking up. That we're going to get another we're going to get something very similar to the Bio Patriot Act. I have no other term than I coined that term. Not in the government. If you search the bills that are being worked on, there's no such thing as Bio Patriot Act. It's a coined term by me to explain that the government and its agencies are going to curtail your civil liberties and force vaccinations. And it's the bookend of this long process that started when the towers fell. So you take the 102 minutes and you mirror it and you get 201. It's the bookend of the process that the government's instituting. And I'm concerned about it. I mean, what I'm saying is kind of a little esoteric and kind of deep, but I think you understand what I mean by the mirror image.
I agree.
Yeah. So
no, I'm with
like,
you.
Yeah. So I think that's what's happening, and I'm trying to alert everyone in a scientific way, in a geopolitical way, a states' rights and constitutional way, the best that I can. A prepping way, to try to warn the public, engage with your representatives, your healthcare providers, your community, to try to help. Because if you're engaged and you can help your community, you don't need FEMA, you don't need HHS, you don't need all these top-down government agencies. If you can prove that the citizens can band together to help our neighbors, we don't get top-down government, because we can just say we don't need top-down government. We can handle it locally.
And I believe Paul had a question for you. Paul, did you have a question for the doc?
Yeah, two questions, but people are inevitably going to get this, right? Coronavirus. So once they get it, what do you recommend they do? Besides quarantine themselves.
People need to realize that there's different types of coronaviruses. There are most of them are very benign. They're the cold. When we say that we get the cold, that's one of the common viruses that gives us the cold. Then there's the very virulent strains like SARS or this Wuhan strand. If we get the Wuhan strand or COVID-19, the very first thing that you should do is see your healthcare provider, see your doctor, see that nurse practitioner or PA, whoever takes care of you normally, to try to get the proper diagnosis. To be tested, with those CDC kits if your local municipality has them. And hopefully your healthcare provider gives you those protease inhibitors right away. Because I believe that protease inhibition is what's going to slow down and buy time for your immune system to kick in. But if you have complications like heart disease or other diseases, it's more complicated, and the doctor's going to it's going to have to balance your regular treatment and your treatment for the actual virus, and it's going to be a balancing act. But
in China,
but
even
I
the
also
act
recommend
of
those items. I also recommend those items on the homeopathic side to get.
Don't you expose other people to the illness when you do it that way? Say you had one coronavirus and you went walking around town. Wouldn't you just infect more people?
Well, I mean, if you think you're sick, you should not be walking around. You shouldn't be going to let's say the Chinese restaurant and buy wonton soup. I mean, you should stay at home. But you have to see your physician. So you put your mask, put a mask on if you're sick and you're going to the doctor, and then see the doctor. You should not be traveling around.
Right.
If you're sick, do not travel. You should quarantine yourself, but you should also see a doctor. I don't want people to think, oh, I can just wait this out. It doesn't feel that bad, and I'm not going to go to the doctor. Don't think that way. Go to your doctor and get that health care that you need, because you know what? That health care may be gone in 8 to 10 weeks. If we have a big epidemic in the United States, the healthcare system could collapse in 8 weeks. So people need to, people have to realize, catch it early, get to the doctor, and hopefully, they can give you those protease inhibitors. Now, I think what they're doing is they shy away from giving you the protease inhibitors right away, probably because they don't have a lot of stock on it. Because a lot of these medications are made in China, and we have supply chain problems. You feel sick, don't be walking around. You got, see the healthcare provider and get treated. If you can't get to a doctor for whatever reason, lockdown, whatever the reason is, then you got to stay in your home. And the best thing you have is the homeopathic remedies that we've talked about.
Yeah, that's all you really have. And right now is the best time to learn how to be self-reliant. I mean, you just have to sit back and look at all the things that have unfolded in China and, of course, New Orleans. I mean, the list goes on, the way people act when disaster happens. And disaster will strike. And, of course, technology will fail as well.
Yeah, what's important, though, to add to that is, yes, you might have to rely on self-reliance, but this is why I keep on saying help your neighbor.
Right.
Because there's going to be a lot of people out there that are stuck. They're in the same boat as you, and if you don't work together, disaster could strike, especially with the elderly. They're scared. They don't have a lot of means of getting around or have the means of, getting these, extra, homeopathic remedies because, they're on fixed income and they have heart medication or whatever that they have to pay for. So you got to be cognizant of what your neighbor's needs are too. So it's not just, people can't just be egocentric. They have to also realize that they're in the boat with other people in their community and they have to help each other.
Yeah, I feel bad for
Especially
the elderly.
the elderly.
Yeah, the elderly, I feel bad for them. Those individuals out there with the fixed income, and of course, lots of them are completely alone as well. They don't have any family.
Yeah. On my channel, I have lots of people that call in, because I'm staying up late and only get a few hours of sleep. But I have a lot of people that are elderly. They live alone. Either had a spouse that died a long time ago, kids moved out, and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
They call just because they're alone and they need to talk. So I hear their desperation, not just because of this crisis, but just in their normal human experience of loneliness. And I don't think a lot of Americans realize what is happening to a large section of society that we call the geriatrics. There's a lot of them that are lonely and scared, and they have a lot to offer. They still have cognitive functions and have a lot to contribute and their history, their historical history, life history, but there's going through this and publishing what I've been publishing on the channel. I have a deeper prism of the cross section of American society now that I never had before.
Oh yeah,
a much deeper perspective of what people are really thinking and what they're willing to share. The stuff that I would never publish, but I mean, they basically bleed their heart out.
They trust you.
On the phone.
They trust you, Paul. That's why.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's pretty insane. All this happening around the world. And by the way, we haven't finished that audio. We have about 4 minutes left of it, Doc.
Okay.
Let's play that.
At that office. Wait, do you have a title?
I work for the Citizens Line.
Okay. All right. Now, who can you give me? Can you give me up the chain?
Okay, hold on just a minute.
Thank you.
And this is where they transfer you yet again, Doc.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But Doc, I have to say, these individuals that you probably talked to over the phone, I'm sure they were scared as hell talking to you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't know. Sure. Maybe.
They're probably thinking, who the hell is this guy calling me? This doctor here.
Second chamber.
Hello? This is
Second chamber.
Hello, this is Dr. Paul Cottrell. And I'm concerned about a whistleblower that is mentioning that there are 6 confirmed COVID-19 cases in Buffalo, New York, related to the Millard Fillmore Hospital in Amherst. And I would like the governor's office to please investigate and comment on what is going on in the state of New York in terms of the true positive cases of COVID-19, because all we hear in the news is negative test results in New York, and we have some sort of containment that's going on in Westchester. 26 people that are that are in a kind of a lockdown. What is going on in Buffalo? Because I believe there is, because the whistleblower is a nurse that worked at the hospital that worked on 6 cases, 5 of them mild, one of them more severe, that tested positive by the CDC testing for COVID-19. And I have not heard anything by the governor stating that is either a fallacy or it's true. And this is a very contagious disease that can be very deadly if you have other diseases or immune compromised situation. And the governor needs to get on his get off of the bench here and really start getting engaged with the citizenry of New York, and tell us citizens of New York what is going on. And he hasn't done that.
Well,
and he hasn't done that.
You were told that in order to get the governor's assistance, you would need to submit something in writing to our office.
But I don't understand why the governor isn't going to the public and stating what's the state of affairs. What is even the process of a containment in New York? I live in Manhattan, Lower Manhattan. What is the process? Well, how's the government?
The governor's office, you would need to submit something in writing.
You know what? Here's the problem. Here's the problem with New York.
She's getting uppity with you there.
Right.
My God. Rolling back the audio. Let's go.
Here's the problem with New York. It's got too much bureaucracy, and people can't talk to their governor or representatives of the governor within his office on the phone. Everything has to be in writing.
Well,
Wait. Why does everything have to be in writing?
Well, you would also need to submit something in writing.
I have no problem. Here's the problem. We got a major catastrophe in the making here, and we have insurance claim agents stating from Blue Cross and Blue Shield that they are processing upper respiratory and lower respiratory claims much higher than any other flu season that they've seen. There is something awry, and the CDC numbers don't match what is on the ground, what people are saying on the ground. We have a problem, and I'm trying to alert the great governor of New York to try to help us.
And I understand that in order to do so, you would need to submit something in writing.
I will. No. I will. You're telling me that we have a contagion problem, and you aren't going to do jack shit unless I write something?
I'm sorry, sir. I'm going to end this phone call. I've given you my suggestion of how you can get this out to the governor.
Well, I'll tell you what.
There's nothing further we can do in this office. The Department of Health. I know you were transferred there as well.
Yeah, and they didn't give me the runaround. No. And they gave no. You're not. No, you're not. No, we're not done with the phone call. No. Are you sure you want to hang up?
Wow.
Yeah, well, that's the problem with the bureaucracy, and this is a data point. This is the important part of talking to your listeners. This is going to happen in the state of California, and in Texas, and in Nevada, and in Washington. It's going to happen everywhere, right? People need to listen, because I'm getting lots of different data points around the country. That was my experience with the Buffalo and the Westchester situation in New York State. Then, we published today the situation with Texas. There are issues. I had another caller, I believe it was Pennsylvania, where she was trying to reach out to the health care agencies there. So I have 3 data points. Pennsylvania, Texas, and New York. Something's awry. That people need to band together and start talking to the representative and saying, "Hey, you need to be accountable. You need to tell your citizenry what is going on in all the states on a regular basis. How many people have been confirmed with COVID-19? How many are being tested for COVID-19? How many people are in quarantine for COVID-19 suspicion? How many people have recovered for COVID-19? We need these types of, and how many have died from COVID-19? Those are the main categories that we need as citizens. We're not asking for detailed patient information, private detailed patient information.
Right.
But this is information that, because of the deadliness of this disease,
the severity,
this pathogen,
yeah,
the severity of it, that we as citizens deserve and demand it from our government.
Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous what's going on here. And speaking of numbers, by the way, there's a website, Worldometer. Have you seen that, Paul?
Worldometer? No.
Well, there's
what is it?
There's a website called worldometers.info, and you could type in coronavirus, and there's all sorts of numbers. And apparently, there's 2,462 deaths, allegedly.
See, I use the Johns Hopkins database that the CDC is connected to, and the number I see is confirmed world cases 78,766, and deaths worldwide is 2,461. So that I've been sticking with the same database. It could be that there's a lag between them.
Maybe. I'm just thinking there's probably a higher count.
Most of the cases are in China, and we know that they are running crematoriums 24/7.
That's right.
So there's no way that number is 2,000 with a 24/7 crematorium flow rate.
It's hard to believe.
So, it's like, when we talked last time, I said, we were using heuristically a factor of 10.
Yeah.
10 higher. I'm starting to think, because there was a new order of cremation canisters.
I saw that.
40 of them.
Mm-hmm.
It's being hidden. It's being hidden, saying that it's for livestock.
Livestock.
I don't believe that. I don't believe the livestock story. But I'm starting to think that we're definitely in, past the 50,000 mark for deaths.
Right. And another thing, Doctor, I got to ask you, have you been paying attention to Twitter and all those videos that come out from there?
Not really. But I have, my little army of followers on YouTube that
I'm sure they
do
are.
Send me certain links.
Yeah.
But, I see some stuff. But if you have something specific, I might have seen it.
There's just lots of random videos, random small clips of people running around out there
from China,
being detained.
Yeah.
It's
I've
pretty
seen
wild.
those. This is my concern. Will we have that civil unrest and that top-down authoritarian government style rounding people up like we saw in China?
Right.
That is just scary. I hope we don't.
I hope not either.
I mean, we're an armed society. So, the Chinese aren't an armed society. So I have a hard time believing, let's say Texas is going to be rounded up like that.
I agree.
But I am concerned about. Look at what happened with that caller today, with that police officer. And the police officer, was threatening him, saying that, if you call the agency again, we're going to consider it harassment and we're going to go for a warrant on your arrest. And what's even scarier, it's not just that harassment. The officer kept on asking for the caller's information, his name, his address, that stuff. And the caller refused to give it to the police officer, saying that he's just a concerned citizen. And that, he could file a report about the situation, and be anonymous. But the police officer kept on pushing that he needed his information to do the report. And we know that police officers will do anonymous type situations. to protect the identity of an individual, because that report could be public record later. So the caller refused to give it to the police officer. Near the end of the audio recording, police officer said, "Well, it doesn't matter. I already know who you are." Well, that's because they have his phone number, and they called him on a cell phone, and they have all that surveillance state that I was telling you about with the NSA. And it was launched by the Patriot Act and this never-ending surveillance on people. The police have so much metadata on us that it is always assumed by the police that we're a criminal, and that is against our civil liberties, what we have, that we have protected in our Constitution about a lawful search and seizure. In my opinion, I'm not a lawyer, but in my opinion, I think that that part of the Constitution that secures our rights, with proper warrants and proper seizure of our property, needs to be protected. And that officer was treading on those civil liberties with that caller, threatening him. I mean, it's very clear that officer was threatening that caller.
It certainly was. And by the way, the other sider in the chat room, by the way, Doc, he wants me to ask you, what do we see in the near future here in the great U.S. of A.?
Well, there's, to unpack that, there's different pillars, in terms of the outbreak.
Right.
We haven't seen the numbers published by the CDC because most of the municipalities don't have the test kits because the test kits don't work. So once the test kits get on the ground working, we're going to start seeing much larger numbers. That will happen in about a week and a half. I believe we're going to start seeing seed centers in California start ballooning out, to 10 or 20, because you got these spreaders or super spreaders.
Super spreaders, right?
And and eventually, the symptoms are going to start coming about.
The walkers.
So I don't believe that we have it contained. And even Mesnier, the head of the CDC, Dr. Nancy, she mentioned that there's a high probability of an outbreak.
That's what I
don't
fear.
know when.
That's what I
just
fear
don't know
most.
when, but I think we have it. We just haven't been testing for it. But it's been flying under the radar because the callers that I'm hearing, it's giving me the impression that it's here already.
Yeah, your callers are freaking me out, to be honest.
But we're trying to see here. This is the catch-22 I have. For me to sound the alarm and how bad it is, I have to show the rawness of it.
I agree. You certainly have to. And by the way, Doctor, Paul over here, he was saying, compared to how they're dealing with it in China, what's the best way for states to react and use money?
Wait, I'm not sure I understand the question. How is China handling it?
Paul, can you ask him your question that you had for him?
Yes. So if you were talking directly to whoever's in charge in the state, what would you recommend? What's the best way for them to proactively, take action against this?
Well, I think first off, let's say you're talking about at the governor level.
Sure.
Okay, so at the governor level, they should regularly come out and give a status to the citizens of that state. What is going on with confirmed cases? What is going on with current unconfirmed cases that are still awaiting test results? Death toll, and recovery numbers. And that should be regularly, And as it progresses, it might be twice a day. In some states, it may be only, every other day. Some states aren't affected yet. But we need to have a regular report from the governors to the citizens. They just on the, local channels, they do like a 10-minute speech, take some questions by, the local media, and then done. But the citizens need to ask at the mayoral level, what is the plan if their community has an outbreak, where do they go? What do they do? And what you'll probably find is they don't have a plan. Or they'll say, go to a website, the CDC website, and follow the guidelines, and buy Clorox wipes or something. You'll start to realize that the government is ill prepared. So it goes back to the idea that the best that we can get from the government is to try to get transparency. And when they start to get involved, it's going to be at the military level, and it's going to be at the at the federal level. What's going to be interesting is to take a look at the dynamic.
What would you do?
Yeah, go ahead.
If you were in charge, what would you do with whatever money you were given?
If I was given federal money, let's say I was the governor. Let's say I was the governor of Texas. All right, I would be, again, regular updates to the citizenry. If I had like emergency FEMA money or something like that, I would, in that pool of money, talk to the mayors of each of the counties, all right, or townships or whatever, and say, okay, on the ground level, what facilities do you have that if there is an overflow of patients where the hospitals can't take them, what stadiums could we use, or large facilities that we can use to start housing patients? And that with that, you tell your community, the mayors tell their community, this is the center for the outbreak. If there's going to be a containment, don't worry about medical care or anything like that. The provisions will be prepared, provided to you at this center, and you give the mayors the power. Don't give it to the FEMA. Use the federal money, but give it the power to the mayors and the sheriffs, to have law and order, and not the military, not the CDC. We don't want to get it at the federal level. The federal level could help with tracking it, coming up with therapeutics, and coming up with money. But it's the mayoral level that I think is where the secret sauce is to solve this problem, because they know where the facilities are that we can house these patients. I would rather be housed, if I have to be contained, in, let's say, a stadium, an indoor stadium, like a football stadium or something like that, or a soccer stadium, than to be on a military base. Because just thinking that you're going to be surrounded by a bunch of people in fatigues and M16s versus, in a much more open field type thing. And we're going to have to mash it, like, you remember MASH on TV? That's kind of, in a way, at the grassroots level, at the mayoral level, you're going to have to have these triage centers to, and figure it out. And everyone's going to have their own little answer to it because of their particular on the ground situation. But give the power to the mayors. They can work the problem. They know their city, and they reach out to their citizens and say, okay, this is the plan, and we're going to need, little deputies to help, to institute this. That's how I would do it. And then the CDC can, be, coming in with that remdesivir. Once it gets past goes into clinical trials too. Because I think the answer is remdesivir, which is the antiviral medication that's being tested. I'm not a big fan of the vaccine. And if you're sick, they're not going to give you a vaccine. They're only going to give people that are not sick of the vaccine. So I think it's at the mayoral level. That's how I would handle it. I would not, but unfortunately, the governors will be afraid, and they'll reach out for help to the federal government, and you'll get this FEMA, the FEMA camp situation, instead of empowering the mayors. The answer is on the ground, the mayoral, the local, not the federal.
I hope that answered your question there, Paul.
Yeah, that was pretty good. Good stuff.
Yeah, I thought he answered it quite well. And earlier in the chat room, Doc, someone mentioned the movie Outbreak, And I thought, wow, yeah, that's true. It's a pretty interesting movie. I remember that back in the day. Doc, did you see that?
I didn't see Outbreak. I saw Hot Zones.
Outbreak is pretty
and
good.
I saw 12 Monkeys. And The Stand by Stephen King.
The Stand is also excellent.
Yeah. But I thought 12 Monkeys was pretty good too.
And not bad. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
No complaints here. But by the way, also this also reminds me of Resident Evil, like the video game.
Right.
Pretty
right.
wild stuff.
I mean, the thing is that in these different, it's strange, and there different people will have a different perspective on it.
Right.
But it's strange on how artists in all these different genres, either writers or game makers or movie makers, they almost seem like they've predicted this.
Almost, you're
Especially
right.
like Dan. Yeah, have you seen what's been going on with this Dean Koontz? I'm not, I don't read his books, but he came out in 1981, a book called The Eyes of Darkness, and in that book talks about Wuhan 400, and that there was going to be an outbreak in 2020. How could he have put that in that book?
And what's the name of that book
in
again?
1981, The Eyes of Darkness.
The Eyes of Darkness.
Yeah. And it talks about a virus called Wuhan 400. So it's like, some of the more esoteric individuals will go, well, there's an Akashi record, and these artists can tap into it through their creativity, and they don't see the whole record, but they see like a shadow or a blurred vision of it, a blurred picture of the Akashi record, and then that's part of their creativity while they're writing. And that's maybe the mechanism for was it Henry Casey, that the famous psychic that was able to predict a lot of things that have taken place, and he wrote a lot about it. I mean, he had years of case records of it. But it makes you wonder that these creatives, they've written or have put stuff in plots that are very, very, very similar to what's going on.
Yeah, these things are manifesting for sure.
Yeah, so I just it's a strange coincidence, that's for sure.
No doubt, and that brings me to another just random question here. Are you familiar with the Doomsday Clock by any chance?
Yes, you're talking about the nuclear clock, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
What's your take on that?
I'm familiar with it.
What's your opinion on that, by the way, just in general?
Well, it was originally started by scientists that warned the public the dangers of nuclear weapon proliferation, and in a safe time, it's like 20 minutes to midnight. But when you start getting closer to midnight, it's more dangerous. Sometimes they move that clock because of political reasons. They think, they're against, maybe certain military incursions in certain areas of the world, so they'll move it closer to midnight. And then when the flare-up of that military operation ceases, then they'll move the clock back. They moved the clock, I believe, to, wasn't it like 3 minutes to midnight? When was the last time they moved it? Like just a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, they moved it.
I forget.
Pretty recently.
Yeah, but I can't remember what's the time now. Is it 3 minutes to midnight?
I'm looking it up right now.
And even Iron Maiden had a song called 2 Minutes to Midnight.
100 seconds before midnight?
100 seconds is what it is set at?
I think I must have misread this. I just
is it 100 seconds?
I just passed by an article right now, but not quite sure.
So it's less than 2 minutes.
100 seconds from midnight. That's what they're saying.
Yeah. So that's a sign of like that's like very serious, like
sounds
very
like
high probability of a nuclear event. anything less than 2 minutes.
That's pretty
2
creepy.
minutes to midnight is it's just like, yeah. Well, I mean, can we take a nuclear event?
I'm not even sure if we
in
can.
this crisis. I hope not. I mean, but think about this: if the CCP falls, and here that doomsday clock. You're making a great point, and it just popped in my mind. The doomsday clock is not just about nuclear weapons; it's also about nuclear energy.
Absolutely.
And if you have a lot of nuclear plants, and you have infrastructure starting to falter, either because supply chain or people can't get to work and run the nuclear facilities, these things can melt down. We could have a Fukushima, not because of a natural disaster, but because we don't have the material, the spare parts, all the backup systems and people running the facility that are to prevent a meltdown. And that's what they may be sensing.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
But think about it. In China, they have nuclear power. So no one's ever thought about that. I mean, I'm thinking on the fly here right now, and I never thought about actually nuclear plants melting down because of the Wuhan virus.
Yeah, you never know. That's also a possibility.
As a secondary situation, as a secondary event.
Yes, and by the way, Paul was trying to jump in here really quickly. Paul, did you have a question or anything to add on to that?
Yeah, if you were sitting next to someone who had the Wuhan virus, is there any regimen you could be doing or taking, supplement that you would guarantee you wouldn't get it?
No, there's nothing that's going to guarantee you're not going to get it. Anyone that says they have a magic elixir that prevents you from getting a virus or some sort of pathogen, I think is just snake oil salesman.
Because I know when you go to
what you can do is proper hygiene. If you're right next to someone that's sick, that is sick, you shouldn't be sitting with them.
Right.
That's just But if you're with someone that you suspect is sick, but you're not sure, it's proper hygiene. Make sure that you wash your hands, all the time. If you're out in public, make sure you wipe down your coat, and wash your clothes. Don't have them sitting around, the clothes, that you've used. Wash them regularly until the outbreak, gets done. It's proper hygiene and boost up that immune system with very, common things that we've talked about already.
Right.
The vitamin C's and the multivitamins and, the filtered water, and all that stuff, the iodine drops and zinc and, there's lots of things that people, turmeric is an, anti-inflammatory, to just boost up that immune system as best as you can. So if you do get it, you have a charged battery because your battery is going to be worn down fighting that virus. And the more charge you got in that battery, the better off you are.
Are you wearing the mask, by the way, doctor?
No.
No mask.
I won't wear I won't wear masks. And a lot of people have said, well, why? That's being that's not telling the public the right thing to do. Here is my thought, and it's important to break it down. The mask, if you're sick, will help prevent certain droplets when you sneeze or cough from coming out. But it's not 100%. So if you're sick, you shouldn't be in public. But if you're sick and you have to get to the doctor, you should have a mask on. But the public that isn't sick, if you have that mask on, you're still going to get it through your eyes or your ears. So for secondary exposure, like you have the mask, you go home and you take it off and you throw the mask away, but you don't wipe down your coat. You put it in the closet, you take the coat out the next day and then, scratch your nose. And then because you had virus on the coat, you scratch your nose and gave it to yourself. So there has to be proper hygiene protocol on everything that you take out of the house. You got to keep the shoes at the door. You got to wipe down your coats and clothing and scarves and gloves, with the Clorox wipes or or nano silver type gels or Perel or whatever you got, whatever even vinegar.
Baby wipes.
Yeah, baby wipes, whatever is available that you can buy. But just having a mask going in public, would it prevent certain pathogens from getting into your mouth and nose? It will reduce your chances, but you still can get it through your eyes. And we know that this is airborne through droplets, and there is strong suspicion that it is airborne not through droplets, that it can just float around. So it's not just 6 feet away from a person. You might need to be as much as 12 or more feet away, because those viral particles can just float around.
Yeah, this is
like a Brownian motion.
This is like the movie Outbreak now, for sure.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. It's a problem. It's a problem. We have a airborne pathogen that, especially if you have a disease, could be extremely deadly. Prior medical condition can be extremely deadly. But to give it a little bit of hope to the American public, I think by far, at least where the data is right now and the way our healthcare system is at this moment, probably only 1 out of 6 people will have a severe reaction to the coronavirus, or this COVID-19 virus.
Yeah,
we have no idea what will happen the second wave. The second wave can be attenuated and it's much less severe, or it could be actually more severe with the cytokine storm. And we just don't know. It's a possibility.
Paul, did you have anything else to throw at the doctor?
Maybe. Is there any way to, if instead of being infected in the environment, is there anything you can do to kind of nullify to kill it? Yeah, I mean, a virus is dead anyway, but is there anything you can do to, reduce it in the environment?
So like on a surface?
Yeah.
You're talking about like on a surface? Okay, so yeah, you can clean, if the environment is correct, if the environment is in the right, the virus can live on a surface for about 9 days. Now that's temperature, that's pH levels, that's humidity and all that. If it's in the right conditions, it can live on the surface for 9 days. The best thing to do is, again, proper hygiene. You can wipe down your surfaces with those Clorox wipes, or you can use the structural silver type products. They have like gel products that you can use that you can wipe it with. You can mix it with vinegar and water will help. Alcohol is a nice one. You can use rubbing alcohol, or you can whiskey will do it. Just take
Nice.
a cloth, dip it in whiskey, or scotch or whatever, and wipe down your counters. In your kitchen, and your bathrooms are important too. That there is a lot of evidence that there is shedding, what they call shedding of the virus through fecal matter.
Oh no!
And you got to make sure that you clean, clean that bathroom regularly.
Got to break out the bleach.
And the towels have to be clean regularly. Every other day.
Which you should be doing immediately already.
Yeah.
Yeah, wash your blankets and your bed sheets. That's another thing people seem to forget to do. I'm not sure why.
Exactly.
Those
Yep.
filthy heathens, never washing their sheets. Good Lord. But yes.
And ones that have kids, kids,
kids.
they get dirty. They're always in, here and there and everywhere. Spray them down.
Yeah, hose them down.
Before they touch the furniture and everything else. They were outside. You spray them down.
It's a good thing you don't have kids, doctor. They would have gotten you sick by now.
Right.
Yeah,
mentally and physically.
Exactly. But yes, it seems like everyone is getting sick with something these days, either the flu or pneumonia. Hopefully not COVID-19.
Yeah, I hope people get past this. People have to realize that this is probably going to 18 months. This thing's going to go around the world and come back. And, it might be less virulent, it might be more virulent. But just because you don't get it now doesn't mean there isn't a second wave later. And just because you did get it doesn't mean that you can't get it again. And this is where I think opens up that whole Bio Patriot Act thing.
Oh my!
Where that's forced the vaccination, the never-ending coronavirus vaccination, because it's more deadly than flu. Here's the kind of like the fallacy of taking the flu vaccination, in my opinion. All right, there's about 50,000 people that die. If you look at that absolute number, that's a lot of people. But in that subset are individuals that are dying from complications to other things. So they don't really die from the flu, right?
Yeah, they have ongoing conditions of other things.
Even if they did die from the flu, though, there's about 50 million people in the United States alone that get the flu. So you're talking about only 50,000 people out of 50 million. Okay? We have here, with just the data set that they gave us, right? We have 2,500 people dying with 79,000 cases. So the death rate with COVID-19 is much higher than the flu in percentage. You have a higher chance of dying with COVID-19 than the flu. So that will convince the public, because of the economic damage and the death rate of COVID-19, to do yearly COVID or yearly coronavirus vaccinations, just like they're trying to promote annual flu vaccinations. So this opens up for a never-ending vaccination program for adults. So I just I hope it doesn't come to that. But if this is an economic destroying kind of situation, which there's a high probability, because you look at, you have Wuhan, it's absolutely collapsed now. The city collapsed. The economics of it is totally collapsed.
I'm sure it's taken a big hit. Like here in America, I'm sure communities out here are not doing so well.
Right. My personal thinking is just like the more rural areas will be okay because they don't have the high population densities. Even a lot of the suburban areas will be okay. But the high density areas like New York, Los Angeles, maybe Dallas or Houston, Chicago, Austin, those types of, population densities, I think they could be hit very hard. Miami.
Yeah, that's the unfortunate circumstance that these individuals will face, the big Asian communities that are all over the United States. In LA, there's a pretty big one there as well. I'm sure they're taking a big hit financially. Nobody wants to go and do business with them now because of this, because of the fear of catching this virus.
Exactly. And just as another test case, we have something famous in New York called Chinatown. All right, there's a village in New York called Chinatown, and people aren't going there. Businesses are their sales dropped 50% because of the stigma of and this is an important point. There is a xenophobia taking place in the world and in the United States.
Absolutely.
And their communities are suffering, big time, on the economic side, and on just health in terms of this virus, because it does seem to be targeting, because of the upregulation of ACE2 inhibitors or ACE2 receptors for Asians, especially Asian males. So, it's sad that
very sad
that we're seeing this xenophobia taking place. But that's just another test case of economic, because people are either afraid or can't go out to buy stuff, how a little community can start to collapse because people are sick or afraid to to go out because they're afraid of getting sick. Kind of similar to what happened right after 9/11. Remember when George Bush, got on the air and said, go to the mall and buy something because everyone wanted to stay home because they were afraid of terrorism.
That's true.
And the economy was faltering. Same thing's going to happen here.
Yeah,
and the bank system is on tenuous ground. It's on shaky ground. With this whole repo market. So, if you have all these loans, think about it. If you have a outbreak in a community, let's say LA, all right, and they prevent people from going to work, people have mortgages and they have to make payments, rent payments or car payments or whatever. And if they're not going to work, how do they pay the payments? So the government hasn't even been transparent that if there is a lockdown for a long period of time, that there will be some sort of debt forgiveness or loan extension, so that the citizenry isn't worried about foreclosure or repo of. But I don't understand why our government officials can't bring that up in the public. I mean, to me, it seems like common sense.
Well, Doc, they've never been known for their honesty. Let's be honest.
Right. But this is the kind of thing that needs to be talked about in the public eye, in the public arena or square. Where if there is a lockdown, how is the federal government and the state governments helping those citizens that are in need to make sure that they don't have to worry about their financial obligations until they heal? And and we're all Americans, extending, this outbreak is probably going to only last like 2 months. All right. Extending mortgage payment loans at the bank for 2 months is not that big of a deal to the bank. Right. But some of the other problems are businesses, businesses losing revenue, and they have loans, and if they aren't selling product, they'll have to lay people off. So there is a lot of like dominoes that can start falling apart, not just the medical system falling apart because they got too many patients to try to manage, and a declining pharmaceutical stockpile, but you're going to see economic dominoes falling too, as people can't go to work, or the plants don't have the materials that they need to make the products.
Right.
So it's people. There's a contagion of the virus, and there's a contagion of the actual economy that can happen.
And there could be a blockade.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Good Lord.
And if you really want to go, outbreak or hot zone, I wonder if the union stays together in the extreme.
Yes.
Where, the states just say, we're breaking away. I mean, maybe that's too far and too extreme of a thought, but
well,
who knows?
We don't know. And we can't ascertain that just yet.
Right.
We're still early in the ball game here.
Right.
But Doc,
we're in the first inning, bottom of the first, I think.
Very true. Doctor, I hate to do this, but we are out of time already, and it seems like we've been on for 2 hours already.
Well, I enjoyed it.
I did too.
Much for having me.
It's been fun. I definitely will plaster this everywhere I can and get the word out. It's always an honor and pleasure to speak to you, Doctor. And Paul, did you have anything to say to the doctor before we let him leave us here?
It's gone quick. You've put out a lot of good information, and I appreciate being able to talk with you here. It's great. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for sharing and asking the questions, and I'm glad to help in any way I can. And I really appreciate you having me on your show.
Yes, sir. And Doctor, any final words before we cut you loose officially here?
Well, my mantra is always to try to just help your neighbor. Realize that we're in it together, not to think egotistically, and just work in your community. Reach out, know your neighbor, help. That's the only way we're going to survive this.
Very nice. Well, Doctor, thank you so much for being a part of the program, and we will talk again, I'm sure.
Yep. Thank you very much.
All right, buddy. Get some sleep.
I will. Thank
Good
you.
night.
Bye-bye.
And there he goes, boys and girls. That was Dr. Paul Cottrell. And my God, those 2 hours just flew by, and that was pretty amazing, right, Paul?
Yeah, it was great. It went fast, man.
It really did. That tripped me out. It really tripped me out. I thought we had much more time, but that's usually how it goes here. And I do want to thank those that are new that came in here and hung out with us for a while. Right now, we are going to go on a little break, and we will be talking to Mr. David Dees when we return. And Paul, are you going to hang out with me on this one?
Yeah, that'd be great. Dees looks interesting also. Yeah.
For sure. Well, Paul, I'll talk to you when we return on the other side.
All right.
All right, hang tight over there. And yes, folks, we are going to go on a little break, and this is a good time to go to the restroom or your fridge, or maybe you want to smoke. Whatever it is, do what you got to do and get your ass back here. Part 2 is coming up. Don't go anywhere. Stay tuned. And welcome back to the program. Thank you for being here, seeing all your lovely faces are still here from earlier. That makes the heart warm even more than it already is. My goodness, I'm so glad to see all of you out there. So many ugly and beautiful faces in the audience. I love that. Now, let's get down to brass tacks. And I believe we do have Mr. Prince Paul Mamakos and, of course, David Dees, live and direct. David, say hello.
Hello, Brother Deacon, my
God.
deep voice friend.
How's
so
it going?
Nice to talk to you on this Saturday night. What could we possibly want to talk about?
Oh, my. Well, earlier you missed the coronavirus talk. That was very fascinating and scary as shit.
Yeah, well, I just saw that there was a book in 1981 called The Eyes of Darkness that do you know about this? That has a virus that was engineered called the Wuhan 400 that had all the symptoms of a high-powered bronchial lung attack.
Allegedly.
Right. This is 1981 that they wrote about the Wuhan virus. So here we go.
Here we go indeed. And before we jump right into things, David, can you tell the audience a little bit about yourself? Even though most of them have already seen your artwork at one time or another, let's be honest.
Well, I'm David Dees. I'm a commercial artist. I worked in Hollywood for a number of years in the 80s and the 90s. And then in 2006, I did my first piece of political art that was posted on rents.com. And up to now, I've done around 700 or 800. I can't even keep up with how many I've done. A lot of them are experiments, but it's just Photoshop. I chop it together. It's not hard to do. It's a great activist tool. I put together 4 books. I just came out with my 4th book, and so I have nearly 400 illustrations that are in print. Great coffee table book if you want to wake up your friends, your family, everybody, anybody that gets hold of it loves it. That's what I hear. So, yeah, that's what I do.
Yeah, it's good stuff. It's really, really good. And some people have said that you are legendary. And I feel that perhaps they're not wrong. You kind of are this legendary figure now, David. You sort of cemented yourself in history.
Yeah, you have, because when you put it in print, it's way different than everything's digital on a cloud, because that's so easily snuffed out. I really think that the parasites in control love the fact that there's so much information that can be deleted.
Oh,
And
that too.
you hand somebody a book, it's a very powerful tool. I'm pretty sure 100 years from now there will be my books. Somebody will have one of my books, and they'll look back, and it'll be a window into this history that we're going through right now. I'm sure that book number 5 will have a lot of Wuhan, virus in it, coronavirus. I've done another probably 10 pieces on that already. So
I know, and I'm looking at one right now in the chat room. I have the coronavirus big tidal wave.
Yeah,
I love that.
Yeah, but to hit San Francisco,
I'd love it. My God, every time I look at your art, I'm just always taken back, and I'm thinking, why didn't I think of that? I should have made that into a logo for the show.
There you go. Well, you can use it. It's free to use.
Well,
for
David,
nonprofit purposes.
Well, David, I would love to use it, but I want you to personally make me some sort of logo whenever you can. I'll even pay you heavily for it.
Well, I could sure use some money, because my own story is that I'm in the middle of a health crisis right now for about a month.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I mean, a two-pronged. I mean, 2 things that I'm fighting. It's outrageous, but I'll talk about it on the show, because I'm sure that when I tell you about it, and I tell you about the cure that I'm looking at, and it seems to be starting to be effective, is it's going to help somebody that's listening, and that's the only reason, because I'm pretty secretive about it. I haven't told anybody, but why not go on a radio show and talk about it, right?
I agree. What's going on with you, man? Let it all out.
Yeah, you want to hear about it now? You don't want to talk about the coronavirus?
No, this is your health is way more important right now. Well, I mean, the coronavirus is important, but Jesus, tell us what's going on with you, my friend.
Well, I'm sure that the value of the books would go up if I kicked the bucket, but it's really exactly what I'm looking at. Is about a month ago, I showed up with the symptoms of lung cancer.
Holy shit!
All the symptoms. I didn't go to the doctor. I don't believe in these medical the medical mafia, and I'll tell you what I had. I had a black mole that was on my back. Well, first of all, I'll tell you is that I was kind of a chronic smoker of cannabis, but the real problem with that is that I was not cleaning my water pipe enough, and so I kept thinking that I'm probably sucking in a lot of toxicity here, because there's this black gunk here that seem to be lighting up all the time. And so the first thing that happened is that I ended up with a black mole on my back. It started as a tiny little thing. I could feel it back there, and then it didn't take long before it spread out and got to be about a ½ inch across. I put a camera back there and took a picture of it, and was pretty horrified that it was not a mild-looking character. So I got some of this black salve from my friend Greg Caton, that's down in Ecuador, and he's got this product that he made from the rainforest plants, and it just so what it does is it goes into it and digs down in there somehow, and snuffs it out, and it creates a big scab, and after about 2 or 3 weeks, it just dries up and falls off. So I did that, and then next thing I had clear skin. So I thought, well, that was easy enough. And so,
but David, I got to ask you, and this is from cannabis.
Well, I can only guess that's what caused it. I mean, here I am smoking, like a fiend for a few hours a day. I mean, I have a pretty good diet. I mean, that's the only thing. I mean, now I got this black mole outside the back, my back, right where my lung is.
Oh my
So
God.
I'm guessing that's what it is. I mean, I don't have proof of it.
I see.
So, yeah, but when I was blasting that smoke in, I was thinking, and it's got a bite to it. I was thinking, plus, who knows what's in that? Although, I live in Oregon and it's legal here, so people are pretty much growing organically. But I was getting
Right.
it from the dispensary. Who knows what's in it? Maybe they put something in there. I don't know. So anyway, so it cleared up and I had clear skin. I had a before and after picture of it being there, and then it was gone. So I wanted a few months later. I thought I'd take another picture because I'm sure the skin is very clear now. And I looked at the camera picture, and there was two black moles
Oh
in the place
my.
where there was one.
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
So I went through the same procedure again, and then it wiped it out, and then it cleared up again. So now we're about a month or two later, and I reached back there, and it now there was a pocket about 2 inches across. There was a soft, gushy, sort of a pocket of something, right? So I talked to Greg, and he said, just try it again. So I put the stuff on there, and it just broke it open, and now I've got this crater in the middle of it was more black stuff. So,
My God.
I'm in big trouble, right? I'm going. This is not looking good. Well, and then it was maybe a month or two later, which would bring us up, to a month ago. Then suddenly I feel a lump under my left arm.
Oh my God.
The shower, it was painful, right? And then within a week, if I breathe deep, then my left lung would hurt.
Uh-oh.
Okay, so is right. So I went, oh, I'm in big trouble. This is real. So of course I stopped smoking immediately. I said, I gotta figure this out. I need help, So I'm not into God because I don't believe in God, but I do believe in Source. I believe in the infinite creator of the universe and that. So I said, Source, I need some serious help here because what am I going to do? I'm not going to go and get chemotherapy look, I'm not even going to go to these doctors. So I said, I need help. I talked to my grandmother who was deceased on the other side. And I said to her, I said, I need help. To all my friends on the other side, so I gathered them all up, and I said, what do I do? And the first thing that popped in my mind was baking soda.
Baking soda.
Baking soda. What the fuck? The fuck is this baking soda, right?
Yeah.
So I go on YouTube, I type in baking soda cancer, and this guy pops up. He's somewhere in Europe with this heavy accent. And he goes, let me tell you what, I had stage 4 cancer, and I cured it with baking soda and the whole juice of a lemon twice a day.
Interesting.
And I said, what? My God. So I went and got me some lemons and some baking soda, and I mixed it up, right? And I swallowed it down. And I had been trying to eat, I knew for a fact, and any doctor will tell you this, is that disease cannot grow in an alkaline body.
Right.
You're either acidic or you're alkaline. And if you're eating all this crappy food that they got around, that's very acidic. So I was already eating salads and green leafy vegetables and, really was eating very clean food.
Amazing.
And so I had these strips that you urine test of your pH.
Right.
And even if I ate really good food, I could only get it up to about 7.0. But it kept diving down into 5.5, which is kind of lime green. It colors it so you can see on the chart where you are. And if I got it up to 7, which is kind of good, I couldn't keep it there for more than a day, and then it would dive back down. So it was just up and down. So I was doing my Rife machine, and I was testing my pH. And so then I did the baking soda, right? And an hour later, I just went to the bathroom, and by habit, I tested my pH, and my eyes just jumped out of my head. It was at 8.5. It was literally blue,
My
which was
God.
it's maxed it out. It maxed it fucking out, and that's because I went on to find out is that baking soda, sodium bicarbonate, it oxygenates the colon, right? And your colon, your intestines, is 80% of your immune system. Okay, so I just started laughing. I said, "This is it. This really is the cure because it can't grow in an alkaline body, and I've just alkaline. I mean, my pH is out the roof, right? So." Within, and I felt it too. As soon as I drank that first baking soda and the whole juice of a lemon, with in a big cup, I could feel it. I could feel my body. I could feel energy coming back. And in fact, you know what? My lung was hurting. I went to try to rake the yard. I gave it a couple of swipes, and my lung hurt, and I had to go sit down.
So,
I mean, that's
oh my.
Yeah. So this was no joke.
So yeah,
okay?
this is serious.
This is very serious.
So you're just doing chores, and so I'm sorry to interrupt you. So you're just doing chores, David, and you're bending down a little bit, and all of a sudden you're feeling this sort of pain going on, right?
Yeah. If I breathed in even more than a half, I could breathe in, but if I went,
too much,
half, very much more, it hurt. It hurt. So,
oh my.
You don't have to tell me that I was in big trouble. So I don't want you to think just because it's okay. So what happens is I get on this baking soda, and within 2 days my lungs stopped hurting, and this big glowing thing on my back and under my arm both stopped glowing. They stopped being painful, and they literally just started to retreat. And I didn't tell anybody. I told my landlord because he's pressing me. I got to buy this house, and so I told him how much trouble I'm in. And he said, "Okay, look, you just get well. Don't worry about the house." And I said, "Okay." So I was telling him. I said, "Look, I'm not telling anybody about this. I don't want anybody to know my business." And he said, "You really, really, really should go see a doctor." I said, "I'm not going to the fucking doctor. I'm not going to go to the doctor. I mean, what? Okay, let's say I went to the doctor. They're going to test me, and they're going to say, okay, you got this. So what? Chemotherapy? Are you insane? I'm not doing any of that." So anyway, so this was a month ago or 3 weeks ago. And so I started getting better immediately. Well, within days, suddenly my right hip started to really hurt really bad. I come to find out I now had a pinched nerve, in my they call it the sciatic nerve, is being pinched, and so when I walk, it's like a stabbing pain in my hip. So
damn.
So,
how annoying.
So now,
I said, how annoying.
More than annoying, crippling.
Yeah, crippling.
I mean,
that's a better
crippling.
word for it.
I couldn't even, if I'm laying in bed, I couldn't even turn over to the other side. If I did, it was being stabbed, but like being stabbed, So I had this going on. So I talked to this Dr. Bill Deagle. I do his radio show sometime. I told him this whole story, and he goes, "Well, perhaps it migrated, down to your hip, but it sounds like it's." He had a bunch of words, a bunch of big words about what's going on and stuff. I didn't understand all that. I'm just looking for anything to give me some relief. So I just went and got a bunch of painkillers from the store. So I started taking these painkillers, but. So anyway, I'm in the middle of battling that, and then and my lung, you can hear in my breathing, it's still a little labored, and I had a little bit of a tension it went to my right lung, right? I could feel a little, not the pain, but I could tell that there was something going on there too.
You're freaking me out, by the way, David, since I do enjoy cannabis myself.
Well, you got to think about how
you're scaring me here.
Well, you got to think about your delivery system, because I'm telling you, my pipe, I wouldn't clean it maybe once a week or once every 2 weeks, and it was full of resin.
Well, resin, right?
full of tar and stuff. And when I would smoke through it, I'm lighting that up. My friend that saw me doing it goes, that's pretty dangerous what you're doing. That's pretty toxic what you're doing. And I agreed, but it's kind of like being an addict. You just kind of do it anyway. So
Wow.
I'm paying the price. But I tell you what, in the middle of all this, back in the 80s and 90s, I sprayed. I was an airbrush artist. That's how I painted before I went digital, and I sucked in a lot of paint.
That's what I'm thinking, though. I'm thinking it's an accumulation of all these things that you have inhaled throughout your lifetime is what I'm trying to. I'm hoping that that's the issue, but it just sounds better that way for my selfish reasons.
Oh, I see.
Yes.
Yeah, well, I'm sure that's what it is. But yeah, I've got a history of being poisoned.
That's true. Yes. All those paints you were sucking in.
What's that?
I said all the paint you were sucking in.
Oh, not just paint. It had cadmium in it, a heavy metal that is just south of mercury and lead in toxicity. So, that later I found when I realized why I was nearly died in 1992. I found out that it had cadmium red and cadmium yellow meant that it had cadmium, the actual cadmium in it. Never even occurred to me that's why. I didn't even know what cadmium was really. But so I do have a history of nearly dying, and I turned that around. So, I already had a serious case of candida. You know what that is?
Yes.
Okay, so my tongue for the last 30 years has been coated with this white, because when your immune system gets so compromised, this candida, it overgrows in your colon, and then
builds up.
It will migrate. It will escape the barrier, and it will go into your brain. So,
goddamn. I said, goddamn.
Goddamn is right, because it leaves you completely fatigued and dizzy, and you can't. What they call it, brain fog. That's a polite way to put it. You basically can't. You just can't cope. You can't. I can't even tell you how bad it was. And so anyway, the point is that I had this white thrush on my tongue. You'll see sick people have this white coating on their tongue.
Right.
That's one of the first symptoms of candida. Well, guess what? When I started taking this baking soda and lemon, and within 2 days that completely disappeared.
Oh, it was clearing up for you then.
Well, yeah. So
interesting.
So I'm telling you is that as bad as all this sounds, I've discovered a major cure. I'm thinking it looks this way. It looks like I've won round one. I'm not out of the woods yet, but I'm healing. I'm sitting up and I'm talking. I just got to get this hip fixed. This hip has got to be. I went to a chiropractor and he adjusted me, but I didn't get that much relief from it.
I see.
Anyway. So yeah, baking soda, but
soda.
This Arm & Hammer baking soda I'm using, I got to get this. They call it Bob's Red Mill baking soda. It's organic and doesn't have any additives. I'm pretty sure that Arm & Hammer is going to poison you with. It's probably got cadmium in it.
Yeah, that's probably not good to take.
Yeah. Well, so anyway, so that's my story. I'm in here fighting for my life and
jeez,
trying to. And I haven't been able to work out for 2 months, and my body is, has gone back to its original scrawny little, I haven't seen myself look, because I've worked out for 30 years.
Yeah,
it's not like I'm muscular, but at least I got some muscle tone.
You stayed in shape. I've seen earlier photos of you, and you do look, look slender. You look thin. You don't look out of shape.
I'm not out of shape, but I am now. And I see people walking, when I'm in the yard, I see people walking or exercising, and I'm so envious because, I'm crippled right now with this hip.
You're now like a radio guy.
I am,
you're a radio guy.
I'm envious. Oh boy, I tell you what, when I get well, I'm gonna buff out. I'm gonna eat so right, and I'm gonna not do it. I'm gonna live so clean, and I'm gonna work out so hard.
You're gonna say your prayers and take your vitamins, right?
I'm going to do it all right. I'm guarantee. I'm a new man. And you know
Like
what?
Hogan.
I could sit here and cry and moan, but this baking soda has really turned it around, because I really think that it would have killed me.
I'm gonna have
There's
to,
no doubt.
yeah, I'm gonna have to take that or I'm gonna take that into consideration rather, and perhaps start even doing that myself. I mean, I'm listening to the doctor earlier, Dr. Paul Cottrell, and we're talking about the coronavirus, and we're talking about our health, and all of a sudden, this program has turned into a health show, and now I'm worried.
Well, you can be sure that the medical mafia don't want you to know that baking soda and lemon could be the cure for cancer, because, I mean, if I had health insurance and I went in there, God knows they would have killed me with their chemotherapy and then charged me about $100,000 to do it.
Yeah, they would have left you with a nice bill for anyone who's related to you to take care of.
Well, I don't even have health insurance, So when my friends say I need to go to the doctor and get tested, I say, well, if you pay for it, I'll go in and get a test, but I don't have any money. I'm broke. I mean, who's paying me to do this political art? Nobody. So,
You got to get your work out there,
Yeah.
my friend. And Paul, are you still out there with us, Paul?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I was thinking about some raw foods like raw milk and raw cheese, raw butter. Some of that can help move out the dead cells that are, that cancer is related to. So I don't know if you know about raw milk, raw dairy, that kind of stuff.
Well, raw, any of this dairy is the other thing I found out is that my hip, it's the reason it's hurting so bad. It says it's inflamed, which is inflammation means an infection. It's osteoarthritis is one description of it. But itis, any word with itis and it means inflammation, means overgrowth of bacteria. So I've been using my Rife machine for that. But also what I found in my research is this Dr. Landry on YouTube. He's got a whole channel, but he talks about foods that have This means is that a fruit, when a tree has fruit, it wants you to eat the fruit, but it doesn't want you to eat it too soon. So it has what they call lectins. That's why you can only you can eat fruit when it's in season, but if you eat it when it's before it's ready to be eaten, you're going to get these lectins, which makes you causes inflammation. It's a poison, basically. It's its only defense against being eaten too soon by the animals. The animals don't eat it too soon because they'll get poisoned by it. Well, guess what happens is that these grocery stores, they bring it to market, they pick it really early, and so they're timing it so that it gets ripe by the time it gets there, and so you're basically eating a lot of lectins. And so, God, there's lectins in everything. That's why this whole thing about what's the word? I forget. That's wheat is gluten free. Gluten is a lectin. I didn't know what the fuss was about of things being gluten free. Everybody was suddenly going gluten free. I didn't know what it meant. And that's a lectin. That means that it's gluten free. That I don't know how they did it, but I don't know how they get the lectins out of it. But this is important for my hip, is that I changed my diet drastically. Oh my God, I threw out all the tomatoes. They're very high in lectins. There's a whole list of things that I've potatoes, things that you would think would be healthy for you, that now I've changed.
No more potatoes,
And I
huh?
felt. Go ahead.
No more potatoes for you.
Man, and I love potatoes.
Wow.
I love tomatoes, and I really like spicy food, so I can't have that because it fucks up my prostate. So, and I was I became a vegetarian, but trying to keep my pH up, right? And so, but now today I ate some fish for the first time in a few months. It was so good, but because I've been reduced to not having a very narrow diet of food. When you can only eat so many salads.
Yeah, that gets boring after a while.
Yeah, and beans are very high in lectins, but there's a way around it. You can pressure cook them. It kills the lectins. But anyway, if you want to know more about that, go to Dr. Landry on YouTube, and he's got a whole channel to tell you all about it. I mean, it will knock your socks off. In fact, apparently these lectins are causing all sorts of diseases. So and inflammation, all these autoimmune problems that people are having. If you're having sickness and stuff, you got to look seriously into what you're eating. It really the food you eat is can cause terrible illness.
I'm with you on that one. And by the way, Oscar Langley in the chat room says, "What the fuck? How can a potato be unhealthy?"
Well, it's got lectins in it. That's it. It's a defense mechanism that the plant has to not be eaten too soon, and it's brought to market. It's pulled away from the ground, and so the lectins are in it. See, so and also potatoes and these potatoes and corn. Oh Lord, corn.
Corn isn't good for you for sure.
Yeah, the grains all have a lot of lectins and this glutens in them. So look, I mean, if you eat it and you're fine, then good for you. But if you're eating it and you feel terrible, then you're gonna find out that you gotta really rethink your diet. And I had to, because look, I'm fighting for my life in here.
Yeah, you're fighting for your life, so you need to get on a diet and be very cognitive of what you put into your body.
Exactly. I mean, this is not a joke anymore. When your lung starts aching when you breathe, I think it's time
That's
to
not a good sign. Yeah. That's not a good sign, man.
What you're doing.
God damn, David. Well,
yeah, goddamn is right,
man, David.
So
I
when
wish
I was
the
at
best for you.
When I go to the grocery store, and I'm checking out, the first thing they do, they go, "Hi, how are you? How are you today?" And I look at them like, I want to kill them, because
you want to strangle them.
You.
Yeah.
Why do you got to keep asking me how I'm doing? Because I'm not doing so good. I'm not doing so good.
Yeah.
Anyway.
No, man, I can relate with you on that one. You definitely want to jump over the counter and strangle someone for sure.
Well, you know what I did? My cure for it now is, if anybody asks me how I'm doing, I just go, "Earth is flat." And then I watch their face, because, it's so weird when you say that to people. They take it as an insult.
That's a hard right there.
They just, they really look upset. It's funny.
My
goodness. It cracks me up. It actually makes me look forward to being asked how I'm doing.
By the way, David, yes, in the chat room now, I do have a photograph of one of your many brilliant artwork pieces here, and it's these three children looking at a globe.
Yeah, that's a new one.
Yeah, that is a new one. I've never seen this one before.
Yeah, let's see. Let me put that up.
Yeah,
that's a good one, isn't it? Yeah. I just saw somebody put up a movie trailer.
Is she holding up a vape pen right there? What's going on there?
It's just a pen. They're just
she's vaping.
Just looking at the globe.
Nice.
Yeah, we're in big trouble with this fucking this Wuhan this coronavirus thing, because you know what they're gonna do. Somebody just sent me this article. The 7 New World Order agendas accompanying the virus outbreak.
Some people think this was created in a lab.
Well, 6 weeks before the outbreak, in Wuhan, of all places, in Wuhan, they held the Wuhan military games, which is like the Olympics, but it's with military people, and it's in Wuhan, right? And there's a screenshot that somebody took from it, and it says on the screen, it says "A New World." That was the slogan for the military games, was "A New World." And it's happening in Wuhan. So, just like 9/11, after 9/11, there's so many movies and different clues that were dropped before it. Now we're starting to find the Wuhan clues, because this looks very much engineered, and they're going to use it to pretty much bring in, complete track and trace and God knows what.
Yeah, it's pretty suspicious. And Paul, do you have anything to add towards the potential conspiracy angle here of the Wuhan virus, COVID-19?
No, I've got no inside information. No.
Above your pay grade over there, right? Right, Paul?
That's right.
Understood. My God. Paul, I do want to get a quick summary here on the first guest. What did you make of Dr. Paul Cottrell?
He's got a lot of facts. He talked a little bit about prevention and what he would do if he were in charge, but if he went into that for like a 2 hours at length, that would maybe be even better. Just talking about what he would do if he were in charge.
He's an interesting cat. And David, you definitely have to check out the work of one Dr. Paul Cottrell whenever you get a chance. He has a YouTube channel, and he's been on basically every day talking to all sorts of walks of life. Many people that are scared shitless. Lots of them are sick. Well, some of them are sick, and some of them are whistleblowers.
Right. Well, now they're saying that they're going to use this to bring in the cashless agenda, because they're going to say that the money is transferring the virus, and so they're going to have to go, to the cryptocurrency, which is a total track and trace agenda that they got planned. So we got that, and also you got the martial law quarantines and the mandatory vaccination. You got to get your vaccine.
Got to get those vaccines, right?
Yeah, they'll probably stop all travel unless you have the vaccine. Did you got that illustration I did of that, right?
I did. I'm going to throw that up right now. And Paul, you are up to speed with everything cryptocurrency. I'm sure you would have to agree as well. If this gets out of control, perhaps that would be an alternative for some out there.
Yeah, and all these central banks are already ready with this crypto stuff, because they've had Ripple, the company, at their meetings. So it's not like it would be hard to implement. It'd be easy.
Interesting. And now I do have that photograph up now in the chat room. Yes, this is a good one. The coronavirus checkpoint.
Yeah.
Very good, David.
Well, that's a delivery
good.
system. The vaccine is they can put anything they want in there. They can chip you. They can, God knows what they're gonna fill us full of.
I love that.
The only way you're gonna avoid getting it is probably not travel and just becoming a hermit.
Yeah, don't go anywhere. That's really the only way we can prevent this. I actually stopped shaking people's hands. I just give them a fist bump now.
Straight.
Yeah.
I know, me too.
I'm going to shake your hand. I'm straight. I don't need to touch you. Boarding passengers must show valid vaccine ID card. That is a good one. I love that.
Yeah, man. Well, there's a trailer to a movie in 2015. It's called The Big Short. It's got Brad Pitt in it. It's all about these bankers that were, I can't quite tell the exact. It looks. Anyway, the point is that at 2 minutes, go to YouTube and type in The Big Short movie in 2015, and at 2 minute mark, you'll see that they have an Asian with a with this medical mask on coming up an escalator, and when you look at the storyline, it just fits. This is just another clue they're dropping in, that they like to do to us. So that's an interesting thing. And plus you got that book that's already talking about the Wuhan virus. So this looks very engineered. It looks like we've discovered how they're going to bring in the total track and trace New World Order. Oh man, this is amazing. It's getting dark as hell.
It really is. And for those that are curious, you can find David Dees, his artwork, over at ddees.com, ddees.com. And yes, you can get yourself a autographed copy of his work. I think you can. Is that true?
Yeah. Go in there and buy my books. In fact, that's the only place you can buy them. I'm not on Amazon. It's the only place you can get them from me. I'll sign it for you. I'll send you a signed copy. And trust me, these are collector's items. I didn't print very many of them, and I'm not reprinting. So my volume 2 is now selling for $100 a book, because it's down to the last few. But I do have all the others. I do have enough of, and there's even a half price special on some of them. So go take a look at that at ddees.com. This is the best coffee table book you've ever had. It's got 112 illustrations in it. Full page, full color. It'll knock your socks off, right? You got them, right? Don't you, Mike?
I'm still waiting for mine.
What?
I'm waiting for the new one.
I so apologize. Okay, give me your address. I'm going to send you a set.
Yeah, I'm going to have to email you that one for sure. But yes,
In fact, I think you did give me your address once.
I did.
I screwed that up.
Don't
Yeah, I
worry.
should have sent those to you. Okay, give it to me again, and I'll get those to you.
Yeah, no
But,
worries, no worries. And this is the new one, right? The new book.
the new book has got the chemtrail plane with the skulls and the Joker face on the nose of it, spraying a city.
Yeah, that's a good one too.
Yeah.
You have a lot of good pieces, man. I'm telling you. We just gotta advertise more.
Yeah, I'm not good
throw
at
you out there
promoting
more.
myself. I just like to do the art. When I worked in Hollywood back in the 80s and 90s, I had an agent that did all that for me. So I don't really care to talk myself up too much. People say I'm
Understood.
humble. It's more like I'm just not interested in talking about myself.
No, I understand.
It's not about me anyway. It's about the art. If you like my art, that's fine. But it's not about me.
I hear you, brother. And we do have a call right now. Let's take a call. Caller, you are live on the air. How are you?
I'm pretty good, thanks. How are you doing, Mike?
I'm good. I can't complain. Did you have anything to ask our boy here, David Dees?
Yes, I did. Hello,
Awesome.
David.
Hey.
I want to know your thoughts and your take on the coronavirus being a plant, being deliberately introduced, and whether there is a cure being held or ready to be released when agreements are going to be made, or am I getting too far out there? And that's my question, and I'll hang up and listen to your answer.
Amazing.
Thank you, Michael.
Yes, thank you
have
so
a good
much.
evening.
Take care.
Okay, bye-bye.
And there she goes.
There she goes. Well, look, I'm honored that somebody would ask me about the virus.
Right.
But I did read that they were finding that mostly Asians were dying from it, so it might be race specific.
I've been hearing that as well, David, but I wasn't quite sure if that was accurate or not, if that was someone else's opinion. But yes, a lot more people have caught the virus that definitely are predominantly Asian. That's very true. But there have been some cases where some people aren't Asian and they do have the virus.
Well, darn, I liked it better when it was just Asians. But look, I mean, let's be fair and have everybody die of it. How's that?
I agree with you.
You know what? It doesn't matter because they're going to use it the same. All they got to do is say it's here, and they're going to shut down everything. They're going to quarantine us and do whatever they want to us at this point. So I stayed in America. I was going to move to Ecuador, but I stopped that, and so now here I'm stuck in on the front line, literally on the West Coast, right across the pond from China. So, oh boy.
I hope you...
And then you see this Bill Gates.
Oh,
this Bill Gates he's as happy as a pig. He's these interviews where he's talking about reducing the population. His whole thing. Plus, he funded the Netflix. There was a Netflix series called The Next Pandemic. Can you stand it?
It's true.
He funded that,
lying.
and also he actually funded the vaccine maker. So, holy shit.
Now, I do have another photograph up here in the chat room. This time I could see the 5G tower and I see a guy on the ground. I'm sure that's an Asian man. And we do have the CIA mark right there on the mask and the coronavirus 2020 PSYOP vaccine, which goes perfectly hand in hand with what we are just talking about right now.
Yeah, did you see these videos where the guy, the one where the security guard just suddenly he falls out of his chair and starts shaking?
I did.
I mean, that did not look fake. That that would be it just seems so real. And then there's a Simpsons episode where they
oh no, don't tell me.
Did the same. Did you see this?
I didn't see it, but you're telling me the truth here. There was a Simpson episode on this too.
Yeah, there's a Simpson
God.
episode where these these rulers of America or the world, they get together in this business meeting and they one of them announces we got this great vaccine. I mean, this great, engineered virus, and he just sticks it right in the arm of this other guy, and the guy falls on the floor and starts shaking, same way that guy did. So, God knows this is
there's some wild
dark.
footage. Yeah, there's some wild footage out there that comes from Twitter, and some folks think it's fake. Some folks think it's completely legit.
Well, you know what? Whether it's either way, they're going to use it. They're going to use it on us.
Paul,
they're bringing in the new world.
Paul, your thoughts on the coronavirus being something manufactured for maybe a darker purpose? Your thoughts?
I think highly likely,
Highly likely.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Not only that, you know that Wuhan was the first city in China that went completely 5G. So they're saying that it does cause flu-like symptoms. So maybe there's a combination of the two. I mean, that would be delightful, wouldn't it? You got the 5G blasting into your brain, and then you got the virus coming in. So
what a way to die.
When they talk about these reptilians that are that are behind all this, it almost starts to seem like that's true, because this is so inhumane and so insane that we're living on Earth. It feels like a science fiction movie we're in the middle of, and here we're sitting talking about it like it's
right.
We're just commentating on it like it's a ball game or something.
It's very archaic, no doubt, and it is like a ball game, and well, that's sort of the privilege that we have living here in the United States. For those that don't realize it yet, let me remind you, this is the circus. This is where crazy shit goes down all the time here in the United States, and we all just sit back and enjoy it. And hopefully we aren't involved in the circus. That's really the best we can really do. I'm sure you agree with that, David.
Well, it seems like the war is always somewhere else.
Yeah.
And it always seems like we're causing it.
But that's true too. We do get ourselves involved in all sorts of nonsense, and we have for many, many years now. It's terrible.
Yeah, and I lived in Sweden for 10 years, and I had to do a lot of apologizing for my country, and I was pretty much what they call a what is it when you move to another country? An expatriate?
You're an expatriate or an immigrant of sorts.
I was an expatriate in Sweden and apologizing for my crazy country, but
you were an apologist.
That was in the early 2000, after 9/11 and stuff, and so I did find out. That's when I really dove down the rabbit hole and found out about who's really running the world, and so I stopped apologizing. I said, "Look, your country's been taken over too, and now look at it. Sweden's completely destroyed."
I can't argue that. And Asuka Langley says, "How many people have COVID-19 in Israel?" I can't say. Right. I don't know.
Right.
Israel. I wonder.
Well, Michael, I just did there was a fellow from Austin, Texas. He's actually Canadian, but he lived in Austin, Texas. He had been contacting me for a couple of years, wanted to do a documentary about me and my art. And he just flew up with a cameraman, and they interviewed me for 2 hours and followed me around my house here and outside, and played with my cats and my bunnies. And for 2 days. And so
that's funny.
I'm hoping it's not a hit piece on me, because I've done these interviews before, and it turns out that they end up just making me look totally insane.
Yeah, they're trying to go at you that way, go at you sideways.
Yeah, it's just a hit piece to discredit me. I don't know that that's what this is going to be. He did say that it's going to be sort of a moody documentary, and I went, wait a minute, a moody documentary.
What does that mean?
Yeah, what does that mean? I think that's with no music and just pictures. Look, he's going to edit it, so it's really up to him how he paints me.
Yeah.
He said I'm not gonna cut up your words, but he's certainly going to, after 2 hours, he can pick out whatever he wants and use the worst of the worst, because he started questioning me about the Jews and the Zionism stuff, and I went, that's not stuff. I'm not into that anymore.
It's not your concern.
So, huh?
I said that's not really your concern.
It used to be. I used to, drink a lot of wine, and I get real pissed off, and I didn't care that they were attacking me. But I changed my ways. It's not that I changed my ways so much as I just raised my frequency. It's just I find it disgusting and makes me feel rotten to even look at it all. So I just put my attention on other things. And now with this virus, I'm completely distracted.
And now, speaking of the virus, we do have a photograph of Trump now building the wall, and you see the coronavirus in the background, and he's wearing the mask and the 5G pin.
Yeah, that's he did a press conference where he's talking about this wall that is at the top of it. It's anti-climb is what he said. So I searched that out and I found this one model here and I used that. He's even got a gold T on it. He's saying that we just got to. He said that they already built 120 miles of this wall right here that you can see through, but it's 30 feet tall or 25 feet, tall as hell, trying to keep out the people with the virus, or pretty much keep us in.
Both, so, yeah.
That's a pretty good piece. Do you like
good.
That one?
Yeah, I like it. It's really good.
Delightful, isn't it?
I think so. I mean, it goes well with the topic here tonight, and my God, it's very fitting. The whole 5G pin is also brilliant. I do like that touch.
Yeah, 5G. I was just thinking about doing my next piece. I'm being bombarded with different ideas of, what do I do next? I mean, there's so many things. I was thinking of, zombies. A zombie, like a zombie movie with the zombies coming toward you, but they got on the mask.
That worked too.
Yeah. Yeah, and then in the background they have a 5G tower blasting out, and then behind them have the bank, maybe some buildings that have all the banks, being behind it all.
That
I don't
work.
know.
Yeah,
Look,
that'd be good.
How do you illustrate such a nightmare?
Well, I mean, we do have another hellacious photograph in the chat room now with Trump ripping off his shirt that says acquitted. And of course, you have Pence right there and Nancy very angry. I like that.
Nancy Pelosi. That's a man for sure,
You think that's a man?
Oh, she held her hand up. She has the male ratio. And see that photograph there where she's tearing it? Mm-hmm. That is not retouched. Those are her real hips. I mean, what woman is shaped like that? No woman is shaped like that.
Wait a minute. So the hips. Okay, I had to pull the photograph up. Okay, I'm looking at the hips now.
Yeah, that's definitely a transgender.
So this is a tranny. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I can spot them because, my background in illustration, I can spot the ratios of the skeletal markers.
My goodness.
Yeah.
So for sure you think this is a man?
Well, it used to be.
Or used to be, yes. Good God. And what about Big Mama Michelle?
Oh, that's an obvious one, but you got to look at the female to male transgenders are much harder to spot.
There's a lot
they give themselves away with the relationships they get in.
There's a lot of people who really do believe Michelle Obama is a man. I'm not sure if I believe that, but there is some pretty interesting footage of her dancing around and being a little surprised down there. I don't know if that was photoshopped, but
Yeah, I don't know what she's packing, but I mean, she certainly got shoulders I'm envious of.
And we had what was it, Lady Gaga as well? She also had a bit of a surprise there.
And Madonna's looking pretty buff too.
You think Madonna's a guy?
Well, she used to be.
Or used to be.
Yeah. I mean, you don't know how early they catch them. What the Satanists do, the Luciferians is they worship their god is hermaphrodite. So
well, that's true.
That's their salute to yeah, that's their salute to their god is to change the sex.
Yeah,
into opposite.
The Baphomet does have breasts as well.
Yeah, and a peen sticking
and
up.
A peen, that's true. You're packing.
A peenie.
That's true, my friend. And now we do have Jeff Bezos now from Amazon here up in the photograph in the chat room.
Oh yeah, that's a piece I just did. In fact, when they did the documentary, the first thing they said is they put this camera, this film team, they put a camera right in front of me between me and my computer that's just sat here on my desk, on my table, and it was a 360, and they can dial it up. They can, it was filming my computer and me and my other monitor all at once. And so they can dial it around any direction they want with what I'm doing. They said, okay, we have 1 hour. We want you to do an illustration. And I said, what? They said, just, I said, well, what do I do an illustration of? And they said, how about Bezos? Do one about Bezos. And I went, well, what about him? I don't know anything about, the only thing I could remember is that, the idea of this drone delivery.
Yeah, the drone.
So I did the drone delivery, and I have him with a shotgun. He's blasting one out of the air.
I like that.
And you know what? When I was doing, I was going, man, this is not looking good. Might not work. This might be a complete. And I'm telling you, at the last 10 minutes that hour, I just pulled it all together, and they went, wow, they loved it. And I went, yeah, it does look pretty good. And it turns out it's one of my favorite pieces now.
Yeah, it looks cool.
So,
I'm into it. And by the way, in the chat room, I think we have someone that was asking about, they were asking about that. Enlightened and Preparing says, at Michael, ask him about Justin Bieber, total girl, biometrics don't lie. What's your take on one Justin Bieber?
Oh, yeah, that's a female to male. It's pretty obvious to me. In fact,
Amazing.
the whole cast of Friends,
the whole cast,
all 6 of them are. Yeah, the whole cast.
You son of a bitch!
That's why,
don't tell me that.
If you want to find out who is the transgender in Hollywood, pick up People magazine, because I studied this pretty detailed for a good year, and I've seen so many transvestigation videos where they study
transvestigation
the skeletal markers.
So you're my gosh.
They study all the skeletal markers, and I'm telling you is that they have a recurring. If you look at People magazine, it's always the same people. The Friends cast, and then Madonna, and Jennifer Lopez.
No, don't tell me that.
Oh yeah, all of them.
Oh no.
What do you think the Victoria's Secret? You know what the secret is? They're all men.
Well, I mean, I did hear about the first tranny that was doing the walk for Victoria's Secrets. I did hear about that.
Yeah, and if you then look at who's dating the Victoria's Secret models, who's in there? Well, Leo DiCaprio, and there's the guy from this singer guy. I forget his name, but yeah.
So you're telling me, David, let me get this straight, that Jennifer Aniston is a guy.
Used to be
a guy.
Yeah.
Oh no.
And then look who she married or dated. Look at whoever she dated. Then that outs the female to male. Which is Brad Pitt.
I'm looking at a photograph right now of one Jennifer Aniston when she was in her prime during Friends back in the 90s. And so, my God, that's a guy.
Check out the jawline.
Oh no. I mean, I'm looking at the jawline now.
Yeah.
I'm getting nightmares. I feel like I've been corrupted by Hollywood.
Oh yeah. They say that we're. I'm not into astrology and stuff, but they say that we're entering the age of Aquarius, and forget what age we just left, but it's the age of deception. And I'm telling you, what could be more deceiving than all the people that you consider celebrities to be the opposite of sex of what they really are? Which is, I think that's exactly what has happened.
Wild stuff. I just, I'm not even religious, but I feel crucified. Oh,
I know.
No.
Hey, look, these models and actresses that I lusted after for years, and I find out that like Mila Jovovich, what's her name? There was that model. I always thought she was stunning. Just incredible. But as they don't age very well because the hormones really do a number. Look at Robert Redford's face; it looks like it's melting. And then they even give them names like Paul Newman, New Man. Get it?
Newman, right?
Yeah.
Wow. These bastards.
Or James Woods. Woods. It's all about Woods.
Now, I was going to say I do have now another photograph in the chat room, and this time it's a older lady with a handgun in a parking lot.
That's a good piece, huh?
Yeah, tell us about it.
Well, I think it was when there was the Virginia gun lobby was, or not the gun lobby, but they were looking at the rights, repealing the Second Amendment and stuff. And I just wanted to show somebody that was defending themselves, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think she's getting ready to nap time, this buddy.
Yeah, she's about to sleep him for sure.
Yeah,
I like it.
so I like that. I like that piece. I'll put it in my new book. That'll be in number 5.
Number 5. Okay.
Yeah, so I want everybody to go to my website and buy a book, because you buy a book and you can help support a guy that's got cancer.
Yeah, help the man.
And plus, look, if I don't survive, the value of the book's going to go way up. I mean, way up.
True.
Are you kidding? My God. So you want to definitely grab a book.
It's a collector's item.
I haven't really worked or felt like working for a month, so I need the bucks.
Yeah, help our man David here, ladies and gentlemen. Definitely pick up a copy of his work. It will be worth it, no doubt. dds.com. And now we do have a photograph, another 5G photograph. This one's black and white with purple, which I think is awesome.
Oh, with the guy with his head being blown through?
Right.
Yeah, I like that.
That one's good. I like the color scheme.
Yeah, well, they used that in there was a promo for 5G coming into the city that the makers of 5G put together, and they used that color, like it's sort of docile and it's pretty coming in at night, like it would just kind of flow around in these lines and stuff, instead of being a frequency that would go right into your brain and destroy your cell system.
Yeah, it's very, very good. Good stuff here. And Paul, have you been seeing these works of art here?
Yeah, and I went to his website earlier too, and I saw a bunch of the different stuff. It's good stuff.
Pretty wild, right?
Yeah, I'm looking at the Jennifer Aniston one. You sure that was the guy?
With surgery and hormones, it's incredible how you can mutate the body.
Anything's possible, right?
That's a sad story then.
I know. I mean,
well,
good Lord.
I mean, the royals have been doing it for hundreds of years. They're using the hormones, not hundreds, but certainly for 200 years. They're not even using human hormones. They're using, I think it's the hormones of a horse. I don't know how that works, but they're using the hormones from a horse to change the sex. If you want to know more about it, you just go on. There's a website. I mean, a channel on YouTube called Transpocalypse Now.
Man, I'm gonna got to look that up.
Transpocalypse Now. There's a guy named Mr. E, with a capital E, and man, he does some great transvestigations.
Transvestigations. I love that.
Yeah, look at this. Yeah, if you want to see it, just go on just dial up Brooke Shields walking down a beach and take a look at Brooke Shields and see if that looks like a woman to you.
Oh my.
I mean, with clothes and stuff, they really can disguise it, but when you get them in a bathing suit, you can really see what you got.
Words of advice there, boys and girls. And
plus, that there's a transsexual, transgender, a trans beauty contest in Asia, where you would swear that you were looking at 50 of the hottest women, and it's all men. So,
all men.
Yeah, don't ever think that you think you know what you're looking at anymore. I'm telling you.
It's very true.
Yeah.
Oh, I understand for sure. I mean, I had a friend of mine over 10 years ago who made a mistake going down over in TJ. That's Tijuana, for those that don't know, out there in Mexico, close to San Diego, very, very close. I had a friend of mine go out there, and he thought he was dancing with a beautiful Hispanic young little thing. And well, the night goes on, everything seems to be, going well for my friend. And, they go to the bar and have a few drinks, and all of a sudden they are making out in a dark corner. And my friend gets a little bit of courage and starts to fill up the leg area. And, he makes his way down and around and up south, somewhere up the skirt. And, well, let's just say he felt more than he thought he would be. Some people,
polite way to put it.
Yeah, I mean, I've told this story before, and some people said that happened to you, Michael. And I always say, well, if it did happen to me, I would tell that fucking story almost every day. That's hilarious. That's classic. I mean, why wouldn't I? Why wouldn't I want to? Why would I not want to claim that story? It's gold.
That's a good one.
That's a good one. No doubt. I mean, I've never made that mistake, thank God. But can you imagine that? Reaching under there and grabbing some grapefruit.
Oh dear.
Oh yeah.
You know what? Please don't make me imagine that.
No, I'm sorry. Don't think that. Yes.
Yeah, that's every man's horror. Unless
terrible way.
That's what you. Some men like grapefruit. I don't know.
But, some men like. Some men like.
I'm totally heterosexual, and that's why this whole transgender thing just freaks me the fuck out, because, here I'm staring at. Turns out they were men. They were, this Mila Jovovich, who's the beautiful eyes and stuff. I'm looking at the eyes of a man, but it was in the early '80s that these 6-foot supermodels in the swim, in the Sports Illustrated, they show up. We never saw that before. Right. You got the that model from Australia. What's her name? And there was just a whole, and this Victoria's Secret, you got a whole runway full of 6-foot models. I go, where are they getting these? I mean, with these narrow hips, because they don't got no hips. Oh man. That
is pretty frightening.
And when I moved to Hollywood in '84, I was looking for all these beautiful models and stuff, and I didn't really find them.
That's
hilarious.
Funny
is it literally, that's what happened. Is that I was going to parties and stuff, keeping my eye out for all these tall, skinny models, and they really were not to be found. Now I find out that it was all an illusion.
It was all an illusion. It was a tranny surprise. My God.
It was a tranny surprise. It was a pineapple surprise.
My God. And I think we do have another, we might have another call here. A caller, you are live on the air. What's going on?
Hey, what's up, Michael? It's Dana. Hi, how's the chat? How are you, David?
Dana, what's up?
Hey, Dana.
Hey, not much. I love your artwork, though. I swear, I don't know if it was your artwork, but I was sat through a David Icke show for like 12 hours, and a lot of the stuff that he showed was similar to what your artwork is. And I just want to say your freaking artwork is amazing.
It probably was his artwork.
I think it was. I really do. So, and I found your show randomly through like studying Marshall Masters' work, which was a whole different topic. So I love the fact that you can weave in and out of, what people's interests are, from Corona to Planet X to, whatever,
I like it all.
But yeah, it's good to bring it all together. Like
in a heterosexual way, by the way.
What's that?
I said in a heterosexual way.
Yes.
Yeah. Hey, I did. I'm friends with David Icke, and when I lived in Sweden, I flew down to London and saw the David Icke show in London. There was 2,500 people. At this the Brit, what was it called, Brixton Academy, and he knew I was there in the audience, and I was in the audience and about the 15th row. And, he had a big giant screen, and he was flashing up my art a lot. And I kept nudging my buddy next to me. I go, I did that one. And finally he stops and he goes, by the way, he starts talking about me. He starts saying that David Dees did all this, so it's not so often I've ever been to a concert where they start talking about me.
That's freaking awesome, because I went to the show on a random, my girlfriend had a thing on her phone, and she's like, hey, isn't that the guy that you always watch, your tinfoil hat shit? And she's like, do you want to go? I was like, we did that instead of Aftershock, and I wanted to see Tool, but I was like, this is closer, it's cheaper, fine, we'll go to that, right? So we went, and we ended up going early, and I had all these bumper stickers on my car, and he actually talked about it during the show, all these bumper stickers I had, and I was like, oh my God, that's fucking weird, right?
Wow.
And I noticed your artwork, and I was like, holy shit, that's got to be the guy. And, it was funny because we were at the show, and we ended up getting there early, so we got a front row seat. And we were there and sitting in front of all these guys who were part of the radio show talk show hosts that had seats, and they were all stuck together. And this is a true story. So I took out my MacGyver pocket knife that was my dad's, that I always carry around with me. It's the thing you carry around that reminds you, whatever. It's my power item. And I pulled this thing out, and we cut the whole freaking row apart so the seats weren't like zip tied together. We cut all the zip ties with my freaking MacGyver pocket knife. So everyone had we're like, fuck the system. Like, we're at a David Icke show. We're cutting these seats free, right? This is a stupid true story. And then what really intrigued me was that I had watched a documentary, and this is kind of something I thought of with your artwork, and it's kind of a twist, different, like, and you're going through a lot, right, health-wise, and I was listening, and my father went through kind of similar. My mom's actually going through some stuff now, and she's got 3 different types of osteoporosis, and I remember listening to you a while back when you sang and you played the guitar on Michael's show. And that really was intriguing too to me, that, you know, I don't believe in flat earth, but that's okay. But your spirit to me has something to say. And to me, you know, if you shift your consciousness, like because the 5G is no fucking joke. Like, I've been following it and I've been listening to what is going on. And I went to the movies and I saw that the 5G is really, I mean, I'm going to out in Chilkoot, California, which is not too far from where I live in Reno, where they're protesting the 5G and their livestock and their you know, their livelihood. It's killing it's killing the honeybees. I was a beekeeper in Hayward, California, and it's no fucking joke. People don't really know what 5G is capable of on the grander macro scale. So if your artwork could really show, like, there's a new documentary coming out called Thrive 2, What It Takes. And when I was at that David Icke show, the only person that really kind of drew me to 2 individuals of their research was Stephen Greer and David Icke. And I saw it on Thrive with Foster Gamble because I was doing all this research when my father passed away. And I had expressed this earlier on with a Martial Masters show. But what your artwork can really do is bring out these truths. And maybe that's what you just, you know, like with the Taurus, it's spelled not like the astrological sign, but T-O-R. The Taurus, it's what our universe really builds and what we are capable of, and the resonance frequency of what human beings are really like. They've got our frequency down, and if they've got our blood down, our frequency down, you know, they're going to control us. And I'm not even I wouldn't even believe this stuff 10 years ago, but because of what my dreams were and what my experiences were, which led me to where I am now, maybe your artwork can show more. And maybe that's your calling, whatever it may be.
That's my calling.
You know, Foster Gamble has a lot of really amazing, like, you know, new health ideas and doctors who have been killed trying to bring new holistic health, even with the coronavirus. And I love that you had Cliff High on, by the way, Michael. Thank
that was
you
so
so much.
I love
awesome.
Cliff. Yes, I love Cliff High.
I've been following him for like 3 years now, and it's just, he's so bizarre. But what caught my attention was he had a talk on light and how light can change, you know, like make wine and cheese faster. And I thought that was brilliant because I've worked in that industry for a very long time in the culinary field. And I thought, well, fuck, that's one way to do it.
Right.
Light.
Right.
So anyway, I just wanted to share that with you guys. I don't want to keep you too long. But David, you know what? Fucking right on. You keep doing what you're doing. God damn, you're awesome.
You gave me a good idea. You know,
I didn't even know who you were, and then I saw it on Michael's show, and I was like, I know that fucking shit. I've seen it up front.
Right.
So anyway.
Well, it's Saturday night. Why don't we, you know what? You had a good idea there. Maybe I should sing a song, huh?
I'm up for it.
Yeah, please do. Go for it. Love to hear it.
Yeah? Well, you know, you never know. Sometimes I can't sing so good. We'll see what happens.
Well,
That's
I do want to thank you for the call, however, though. I do appreciate it.
Can you hear that?
Yeah.
You hear that okay?
Loud and clear.
Well, let's see. How about this?
You want me
I'll
to
do
hang
this.
up
We'll just do
so
a
you can hear
verse.
it better?
Yeah, we'll let you go.
Okay,
All right.
dear.
Thank you so much.
I
All right.
appreciate it.
Take
All right.
care.
Rock on, brother. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Heard you had some trouble. Thought I'd try to help you. In my time, I had a little trouble too. If you let it get you down, you know I'll bet you it will get you down and walk around on you. Sweet misery, she loves her company. She's in a crowd when she is all alone. She doesn't care, follow you anywhere. She's most happy when she makes you moan. Yeah. My cat had some kittens. Would you like to have one? She will be your friend and she will lick your face. She won't never cheat you. She won't try to beat you. Help you be a winner in the human race. Sweet misery, she loves her company. She is most happy when she makes you moan.
Amazing.
There you
That
go.
was real good.
Real nice.
Wow.
That sound okay?
Holy shit, yeah. That was amazing.
Holy shit, yeah.
I've always wanted a musical guest here on my program, and now it's finally happened yet again, so best episode ever once more.
Oh, aren't you sweet?
It's a fantastic job you did there, sir.
Well, you know, I was when I was singing, I was feeling my lungs, you know, because my lungs have been compromised here, and
That's
they're
true.
not, you know, it's it's a whole lot better than it was a month ago or 3 weeks ago. My God, I'm telling you, that baking soda
Keep
and
doing
lemon.
it. Yeah,
So
just keep
everybody
doing it.
write that down. 2 teaspoons of baking soda and a whole lemon in a cup of water. The way you do it though is you're going to get a chemical reaction. You know, when you put the baking soda and the lemon together, it's gonna bubble up. So you put that in and let it go down, and then you add the water. Because if you put them all 3 at the same time, then it's gonna kind of explode.
My
But
goodness.
yeah, you do it every 12 hours. You know what? I'm sure if whatever disease you got, because it'll highly alkaline the body, and disease and bacteria can't live in an alkaline body. I mean, it really is a cure for everything, it seems to me.
My goodness. Well, David, I hate to do this, but we are out of time yet again.
All right.
But David, I want to thank you
Thank-
man, I want to thank you so much for being a part of the program. I had a great time with you, and I hope you had some fun here tonight.
Oh yeah, telling all about my my health issues is always a great fun for me.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, I hope it helps somebody. I do, because I know it will. You know, because you know, if you go to these doctors, they're going to give you these pharmaceutical poisons that are not going to be healthy for you at all. Also, look up Dr. Landry on YouTube, and go to my website, please, and buy a book. You know, grab a book, and that'll help me out. It's the website is spelled DDEES.com, DDees.com.
Fantastic. Well, I want to thank you yet again once more for being a part of the program. And Paul, did you have anything to add and say to our boy David Dees here?
Just sometimes raw eggs, like if you make a smoothie with some raw eggs in it, that's supposed to help move some of the stuff through the body. You know, so in addition, you know, you might consider doing that.
Yum. Also, if you want to move through the body, take a nice swallow of a castor oil. That helps too.
My
Cool.
goodness. So David,
That's what I do.
David, any final words before we cut you loose?
Yeah, the Earth is flat, and we were lied to about. You know, we're forced through these schools indoctrinations, and so Yeah, where it's flat and stationary. We're under a dome. Outer space is a hoax. It's all just in the movies. The only thing that NASA ever sent to space was your imagination.
Nice. Thank you so much, David. I'll talk to you again in the
Sure.
near future, my friend.
All right.
All right.
Thank you.
Good
Bye-bye.
night. Good night.
Good night.
Yes, and there he goes, boys and girls, the one and only David Dees. That was amazing. Right, Paul?
Yeah, I'm visualizing the Earth being flat, and maybe the Earth or the flat Earth is the only planet in the universe too.
You never know. You just never know. Well, Paul, my God, it has been fun. It's almost been 4 hours since we have been doing this, and I want to thank you for also being a part of the program. It's been pretty badass having you here, Paul.
Cool. It's been fun. It's been a journey. Thank
It
you.
really has. It's been a bit of a roller coaster. It's been a bit of a rattlesnake here yet again. And Paul, just like I told Mr. David Dees, any final words before I cut you loose?
No, the world is, it is what it is, and it's another evening or another day. It's been enjoyable.
Awesome. I'll talk to you on the other side as well, my friend.
You too. Good night.
Mahalo. Bye-bye. And there he goes, boys and girls. That was the one and only Prince Paul Mamakos. And as we take it home here tonight, and before we pull this Larry Silverstein style, I want to thank all of you out there for being a part of the program. Those of you in the chat room, a show within a show, as I'd like to say. Remember, you can get a hold of me via Twitter at Michael Deacon. Don't forget, if you are a fan of this program and want to help fund the program, please go to patreon.com/Michael Deacon. All sorts of bonus content is out there. Thank you to Star and Crystal for signing up recently. I truly appreciate it. Lots of content coming your way. And yes, the coronavirus. Should we be scared? Should you be scared? Should you be considering your health tonight? I think you should. Tonight was a bit of a wake-up call, not just for me, but for all of you out there. You should be concerned. International listeners out there, thank you so much for your support as well. And you can find the podcast rendition of this program on iTunes, Google Play, CastBox, and Stitcher. You can find this program basically on most platforms. Interesting night yet again. It's been quite fun. And again, I appreciate all of you in the chat room. Thank you so much for being here. Stay safe, everyone, no matter where you are on this island Earth. I'm Michael Deacon. And with that said, the world is a mysterious place, and life itself is a mystery. Until next time, good night, everybody.